the United States Air Force, the United States Army, big time, are participating now in what must be one of the most massive airlifts in peacetime in the country's history. There has been a non-stop flow of choppers, gigantic choppers coming in. They are removing the people here at the rate of what must be about 100 every 10 minutes. First they triage them. Here, Clint, show the line of people here. And we'll wait for they're literally, I would say, a couple of thousand, Catherine, have been evacuated already today. The operation started at 6:30 in the morning. First huge semi-trucks came with vitally needed food, water, and other supplies. That took the edge off this crowd that had been suffering incredible agony here in the New Orleans Convention Center since the floods wiped out their homes, inundated their entire neighborhoods. They were here, they were restive, there was violence here. There was 12 dead bodies inside. We saw a dead body not more than 200 yards from where we're standing. A guy shot in the head. Another man killed after he allegedly attempted to rape a 13-year-old by a vigilante crowd. This is typical of one of the big choppers coming in. One of the big sea stallions, that one from the United States Navy. Those big babies can hold up to 40 of these refugees. Catherine, it is unbelievable what we are seeing. This reminds me of one of the giant operations over in Iraq or Afghanistan. The military, this one coming in now. Even as one sea stallion takes off, a Black Hawk waits its turn to come behind. It's something that I shall absolutely never forget. I have a guest for you. This is Colonel Constance McNabb from the Texas Air National Guard. Colonel, God bless the Texas Air National Guard. When did you get here and how do you feel about this operation?
We got here yesterday afternoon. This is what the Guard is all about. We're the militia. We're here to take care of people. We're our sister state with Louisiana, and we're the response force package for FEMA Region 6.
How are these refugees responding to you as this operation is finally kicking into high gear?
They're very appreciative. They have been through an absolute horrific experience. They're coming in, they're cooperating as best they can. There's a lot of confusion and they're agitated simply because they're under so much stress, but they realize we're trying to help them and get them out.
What is Operation Spear?
A spear is actually an equipment assemblage and a particular composition of people. So it's a small, portable aerospace expeditionary rapid response package.
That sounds like military jargon, but it means you came, you've got the goods, and you're getting people triaged first of all, and then you evacuated.
And we have no holding capability, but as people come in, we can medically stabilize the ones so that they can survive the flight.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that they can survive the flight. Try to make them as comfortable as we can and give them a little dignity.
What are you seeing in terms of their medical problem?
Predominantly a lot of old people who already had medical problems. Then when the hurricane came, they had no infrastructure. Many of them have not had medications, a lot of diabetics, a lot of hypertensives, and a lot of just very old people who are just not well.
I saw so many babies yesterday.
We've had a fair number of babies. Their mothers are taking good care of them. Since the storm hit, it's been a matter of the mothers getting nutrition and water, and they can take care of the babies. It's tragic, but the babies seem to be doing pretty well.
The babies faring better than the old folks.
The old folks have no ability to bounce back, and this has been a very difficult living situation for them. I'm sure they've just been terrified.
Have you ever seen anything like these living conditions?
I really haven't been into the convention center or into the dome.
I was.
We're setting this up.
Yeah, actually, Clint, we got a good shot inside the convention center now. Just pan right around. Go pan inside by that says Hall H there. You see the folks on the outside, even as they bring some of the casualties. See them coming here right in the foreground? The EMTs are bringing some of the worst injuries, some of those, they're not ambulatory. What are we looking at, Colonel?
Again, we're looking at a lot of very aged people who've just not been able to get here. Most of today are the people that have been close, that their families or friends or they've been able to self-deliver. These are the people who have been further down the road and didn't have anyone to bring them to us. So the EMTs asked how they could help us. I said, go get the ones that are not coming.
All right, as we pan off and show an EMT carrying a child, Catherine, David, I have to tell you, be proud of the men and women in uniform in the United States military, and especially these citizen soldiers. My God, from 6:30 this morning on, I have watched a miracle unfolding here at the Los Angeles, listen to me, sleep deprivation, the New Orleans Convention Center. Back to you.
Yeah, Geraldo, thanks very much for those amazing scenes there. And I want to welcome David. That really dovetails with the big announcement we had at the White House today that we're going to see more of a military presence of 7,000 troops.
It does indeed. We're going to be talking more about that. But first, going to be talking about where a lot of these refugees are being taken, not just by bus, but some of them are going to the New Orleans International Airport, which is where our own Laura Engel is right now. Laura, what's the scene there?
Hi. Well, we are right now in Concourse D, and looking out the window, I can tell you that helicopters, Blackhawks, Chinooks, Medvacs are taking off second after second. It looks like an absolute scene from a war out on the tarmac. Inside, we've got people on stretchers in every single concourse here. The worst of the worst are being held in a red tent right in the center of concourse in between C and D. They are laid out on the floor. They are in wheelchairs. It is hot in here, but they are making every effort. FEMA is here, and also the National Guard making every effort to get the people who need to get out of here the most on some of these aircraft. We had evacuations starting out of the airport. Of course, there were thousands of people here waiting to get out of here. That started yesterday. 5,200 people so far since 8 a.m. yesterday morning have been evacuated. We've got 600 people left in this terminal, and some of the 25,000 downtown will start coming through this facility where we are now on their way out to whatever plane they can get on. We have got commercial aircraft coming here, military as well. A lot of these people are being taken to Houston and San Antonio. And while the mood is definitely grim inside this airport, I can tell you that while I was standing watching one line of people get on, they started singing Stars at Night are Big and Bright deep in the heart of Texas. So there is definitely people that are very happy to be getting out of here, and help is on the way, and they're moving.
Help's on the way. It's good to hear the mood is up there. Laura Engel from New Orleans International Airport, where a lot of these evacuees are going to be taken to Texas. Laura, thanks very much. Well, in Baton Rouge, officials are asking for more law enforcement help as thousands of evacuees now make the city their temporary home. Fox News correspondent Dan Springer is live in Baton Rouge with the latest. Dan?
Yeah, David, this is the place that all the initial evacuees were taken, and so this place is completely full. We are told that there are 800 people over capacity in the shelters in this city alone, and so they are asking that the evacuees that are coming out now continue going west to Texas, to places like San Antonio, to Dallas, and to Houston, to shelters that can take the onslaught of people that are still coming out of New Orleans. Now, while the adult refugees wonder if they will ever go home, or more immediately, how their family members are doing, kids are being kids. We see kids playing football. We see kids reading and doing some homework, it looks like, playing games. Many of these kids will be starting school here in Baton Rouge in the next week or so. Teachers from New Orleans have actually been coming here looking for jobs, and the school district here says they will get jobs because these kids need an education and they will get into schools here. Businesses from New Orleans are looking to relocate. No one knows what the city will look like when the water is gone there in New Orleans, but a lot of evacuees are thinking about their next move. Will they rebuild? Will they take their insurance money and run? We've spoken with many people who say they are not going back to a city that is always under a threat of flood.
All right, Dan Springer reporting from Baton Rouge. And again, we are looking at pictures of New Orleans, even though we're talking to folks from all around the state, all around the affected Gulf region. So what you're looking on the screen might not always match up with the people we're talking to. Catherine?
Joining me now on the phone is Republican Senator Trent Lott of Mississippi. His 154-year-old home was destroyed by Hurricane Katrina, and yesterday the senator traveled along with President Bush as he surveyed the damaged Gulf Coast. Senator, thanks for joining us. I want to start with the news of the day. The president has announced that 7,000 active duty troops will be heading to the region. What is the most pressing problem in your state that they can deal with?
First, thank you for covering what's happening there. The American people need to know so that they will do everything they can to help. And I want to thank all the volunteers, the Red Cross, Salvation Army people, the contributing people that are on the way, people that are there. There's a lot of good work underway now. It's very difficult for the people on the ground because they still are, looking for, for water and ice. And and generators and things. But there's a massive effort underway. It's beginning to have an effect now. So I want to thank the people for that. The devastation is just it beats all I've ever seen. And I've been working with hurricanes and tornadoes and other disasters for 37 years. It's going to take time to get the people in there. But the National Guard, we should have 6,000 in there by today. I think the president did the right thing by activating, moving active duty people there, because the problem along the coast of Mississippi and certainly in New Orleans is basically out of control. You can't get enough National Guardsmen in there quick enough, because they have to be called up, go to the armory, and be moved in. So that was a wise move. The president was obviously struggling with the devastation he saw, and it's just mind-boggling. And when he met with local officials in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, he saw that it was out of control. We had to have more help in terms of just pure numbers of military people for security, but also search and rescue and just access and communication.
Yes, sir. We're looking at some live pictures right now from the evacuation in New Orleans. So much attention has been focused on that city. Do you believe it's been at the expense of your state and also Alabama?
Well, it's always the natural thing to go with the bigger cities. There are more people and there's more, communication. People are drawn to that. But let me just assure you, we've got towns in Mississippi like Waveland, Mississippi, Bay St. Louis, and Gulfport, Mississippi are totally incapacitated, and the debris in Biloxi beats all I've ever seen. I stood in the middle of it with the president and cried and sweated with everybody else. So we feel a little bit offended that all the emphasis is on the bigger cities. And also, though, I want to say to the people that are complaining about how, it hadn't been enough done, or, when it all... Everybody is doing everything they can. This is no time to whine or complain, no matter how hurt you are. You just got to pitch in and work and believe that help is on the way, and it is coming from the private sector, from charities and the federal government, the state governments, and to any people there on the ground that hear us, and they won't. They're coming. In fact, I'm staying in Jackson today so I can have communications and I can move trucks and planes and ships in the area. Right now, we're working with the Navy. We're moving basically troop carriers, flat-bottom troop carriers, at least 2 into the Mississippi Gulf Coast area. I don't know exactly where they'll go. That's the kind of thing that we're beginning to see happen.
I just want to jump in here, sir. We're looking at some pictures. It's you touring your own home, which was destroyed by the hurricane. I want to ask you about a longer-term issue here, especially along the coastal areas of Mississippi, where entire cities and towns were obliterated. Do you think that if these people are relocated for a 3 or 4 month period, that they may perhaps choose not to come back, and we may be looking at a very significant demographic shift in the region?
I doubt it. The people that live there are very tough, resilient people. They love the coast. They know the dangers. We've been through this before, and we've come back. And remember, this was a 150-plus year event. As you noted, my house, I'm like others. They're suffering. I'm suffering. They lost their house. I lost my house. But the point is, that house had been there over 150 years. It endured everything Mother Nature could give her. And it was also 12 feet above sea level. It was up 8 feet off the ground and on a high point. So, you can't ever get where Mother Nature won't strike you. But the short answer to your question is, I believe that we will rebuild, and in a few years, it'll be more beautiful, and it'll be stronger than ever.
Well, let's hope that's the case. Senator Trent Lott of Mississippi, thank you, and we'll have more straight ahead on America's Challenge. You're watching Fox.
Think the first Superdome was opened in 1965? You're about 2,000 years off. The Romans not only conquered the ancient world, they conquered the future. Rome, engineering an empire, as only the History Channel can bring you. Check your local listings.
Would you like to turn your equity into cash you can use for any purpose? Just log on to ditech.com for your free online e-appraisal. Right now we're offering a low fixed-rate home equity loan with a flat fee of just $49. Call 1-800-65-DITECH.
We're for puppies. A wet nose, a warm belly, and a wagging tail. We're for playing, romping, gnawing, and nipping. For a cardboard box in the corner and a good long nap. puppies. And we're for helping them grow up healthy and strong.
Whether you're running a busy household or a small business, chances are you have a lot going on. Well, there's one place that can help you handle it all.
Don't you worry about a thing.
The UPS Store. If you need help with packing and shipping, need someone to print, collate, and bind a presentation for your small business, or a mailbox where someone can sign for your packages, let the UPS Store worry about it. That's our thing.
Don't you worry about a thing.
The UPS Store, the place for packing, shipping, and a whole lot more.
If you have indoor or outdoor allergies, ask your doctor about something different. Singulair. While many allergy medicines block histamine, Singulair works differently by blocking leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. And Singulair is now approved to help relieve both indoor and outdoor allergy symptoms for a full 24 hours. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Singulair, a different way to treat indoor and outdoor allergies.
A Fox News alert, and as America continues to be challenged by the aftermath of Katrina, good news for those in need. 10,000 more National Guard troops are being sent to the Gulf Coast now. This is relief efforts have been finally coming in, even in places like the Superdome in New Orleans itself, which of course has suffered so dearly these past few days. But again, the alert is 10,000 additional National Guard troops are being sent in. This news from the Pentagon. We continue now with America's Challenge. Catherine?
Thanks, David. 15,000 refugees are starting to enjoy the basic necessities at the Superdome in Houston. They have food, water, a medical clinic, and even access to the Postal Service. Alicia Acuna is live from the massive shelter operation going on in Houston. Alicia.
Hi, Catherine. We want to give you a lay of the land here for this massive shelter. I am in what is called Reliant Park. The Astrodome is inside Reliant Park, and we'll do a little explaining here. Just next to the dome is one other building. It's a convention center area where they have 3,000 people. In that area, they also have a full-blown medical center. They have doctors round the clock checking people out there. So that's just one area. This is a spillover area where they put 3,000. Then just next to it, you see the Houston Astrodome. That's where they have 15,000 of the evacuees. Now, we've been told that they're not going to add any more evacuees to that area. However, there's still room here in Houston. And then if we move off over here behind to where I'm standing, this is the Reliant Center. They have room in there for 8,000 people. Now, we were given a look inside earlier today. Here's a look. We are here in the Reliant Center, which is next to the Astrodome. Yes. I've been told you can fit 8,000 people in here. However, we see a lot of empty cots. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Well, because people are still being evacuated from the New Orleans area. So there's still people in the convention center in New Orleans. So they're flowing in consistently. They're also being diverted to San Antonio and Dallas. So the flow will be managed a little bit easier instead of having bus after bus after bus just arriving. This is the sign-in center where the evacuees can try to find each other, find their family members, whether it is in another state, whether it's in another shelter here in Reliant Park. So they come, they register, fill out as much information as they can. They can also post information on the board here, and so we can try and hook up them with their lost loved one.
What all are you providing for everyone?
Everything. They have the, we have the underwear, we have the toiletries, we have the towels. We give them lots of love, lots of prayers. Tuck them in at night, and the ones that are around here go by and make sure that the children are covered up and they're comfortable. And we have a lost children department. The people are wonderful. Houston is just
very generous.
Give them lots of love.
Now, there is some good news for folks who have been trying to reconnect with their family members. Folks looking for family members out of Louisiana and elsewhere can now go to redcross.org to try to find out exactly where the evacuees went.
All
Back
right.
to you.
Alicia Acuna, thanks very much. Coming up, Congressman Bobby Jindal. He is from New Orleans. We're going to be talking to him next. He's on the ground. We are staying on the ground as we continue to cover America's huge challenge right here on Fox.
Gotta paint the kitchen, gotta paint the hall.
Got the
Blues about painting? Get Scotch brand blue painter's tape. It comes off clean and leaves professional paint lines.
All the tape I use.
Scotch blue painter's tapes from 3M.
Give your engine what it wants. Always ask for Pennzoil.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Hey, Adam. Just so you know, I'm sending Gus to the client meeting.
Why him?
Because Gus is a good conversationalist.
Is he?
Yes, and you answer everything with a question.
I do?
You just did.
Really?
Clients in Memphis don't like that.
They don't?
No.
Why not? Where's she going?
They chose you for a reason, and you chose Embassy Suites for a reason, like our nightly manager's reception. Embassy Suites Hotels.
George had a very full life. He tried to provide the very best for you. He was very active in the market, and apparently still is.
George, is that you?
You can't always be online, but with Trade Triggers, you don't need to be. It automatically enters your trades when the market hits conditions you specify. Join now and get up to 35 commission-free trades plus $100 cash back.
George.
Oh, sorry. That was me. Trade Triggers, just one of the many 21st century tools on Ameritrade.
If the governor knew the right thing to do, he'd put jobs in the hands of Oregonians. If you're going to make a rational decision, you have to look at logic, you have to look at numbers, you have to look at the law. In fact, Oregon's Constitution guarantees that. You don't back down from principles like that.
You don't have to see it his way, but you've got to see it. Have a look into the world of Lars Larson. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on CNW 14.
React, respond, create and then move on.
Stop viruses. Stop spyware. Stop paying extra. Because Comcast high-speed internet service includes McAfee pop-up blocker, antivirus, and parental controls, free. Comcast and McAfee, all you need to protect your privacy and your family. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
We are continuing to look at live pictures from New Orleans. Of course, the president visited yesterday. Among the first places where the president toured in New Orleans yesterday was a suburb of Kenner. That's the home of Republican Congressman Bobby Jindal. Congressman Jindal joins us now from Baton Rouge. Congressman, first tell us the situation on the ground there, if you can.
Well, here at the River Center, things are surprisingly calm. You know, I give a lot of credit not only to the people that have been evacuated, but also the community here. You've seen a city like Baton Rouge grow tremendously. By some estimates, there'll be 100,000 people here. People are obviously very anxious to find out about their loved ones, find out about their property, about missing relatives. But for the most part, the community has been very generous in receiving them. There have been relatively minor problems. The evacuation to Baton Rouge, once they've gotten here, has gone smoothly. Obviously, more can be done to improve their living conditions, but this has actually been one of the better staging grounds, one of the
Well, that is good to hear. Congressman, while it's great to hear that things are good in Baton Rouge, things are improving in New Orleans at the Superdome, but boy, they've had 5 days of pure hell from some accounts. Why did it take so long for aid and rescue efforts to reach these people?
You know, that's the same frustration we all have. I've got constituents, I've got friends, I've got families that were still there, that were going back to help, physicians and others. Our frustration is we've seen now, and yesterday and today, when the National Guard arrived in force, just how quickly the situation can improve. We knew that with the adequate buses, with the adequate infrastructure, they could evacuate 1,600, 2,000 people an hour. They could easily get food, water, medicines to people at the convention center. Our frustration was, why wasn't this done Monday? Why wasn't this done Tuesday?
So what's the answer, Congressman?
Part of the challenge. Well, my frustration is that you've got the state and the feds pointing fingers at each other. my frustration is that it shouldn't matter. Quite frankly, the people being rescued don't care whether it was the state not asking quickly enough or whether it was the feds not responding quickly enough. I think there needed to be one person in charge. I think that all along they needed to do multiple things at once. I think for too long they said, well, we're going to rescue everybody first, then we'll worry about security, then we'll worry about housing. You can't do that in a disaster of this size. By not focusing on security, they jeopardized the rescue operations. By not focusing on housing, they had nowhere to take the evacuees. So I think that despite all the planning, despite all the lessons we supposedly learned after 9/11, we still didn't respond well. The federal and state, both bureaucracies, didn't respond well at all to a tragedy this size. We still didn't have interoperable communications. Again, I think one person needed to be in control. I think finally they needed to have done several things simultaneously instead of delaying security, delaying housing until rescue was complete.
Well, let's hope we learn this time. But again, we're glad things are moving so well in Baton Rouge. Congressman Bobby Jindal, thanks so much, Congressman. Appreciate it.
David, thank you. We've just, coming up, we'll get a live report from inside New Orleans where, actually, we've got Geraldo there right now at the convention center. Geraldo, we just heard from Congressman Jindal, who said that he thinks things have turned the corner now that the National Guard has been able to get in with real force. And he also said his constituents have been asking questions about why this has taken so long. There's been a lot of finger pointing between the feds and the locals. What kind of read are you getting from people at the center?
I think that the congressman hit the nail on the head. Even after 9/11, there was no coordination, radios that didn't work or couldn't communicate one agency to the next. It wasn't until a lieutenant general came and took control that they finally got some coordination. But right now, they're dealing with an amazing, amazing crisis. Doctor, state your name.
Juliet Saucy.
Okay, the doctor is in charge of the emergency medical services here. Your name?
Donnie Lorette.
Tell us what you're seeing, Doc.
We're seeing thousands of people that need medical attention and quick evacuation, and so our mission is to go out into the crowd now and to get the patients that are unable to walk or ambulatory, the very ill, back to the MASH unit for quick evacuation.
What are you seeing? What kinds of conditions?
Lots of heat-related emergencies.
Yeah, Clint, show what's happening. Go ahead.
Lots of heat-related emergencies. People's chronic illnesses that have been unattended for days are beginning to manifest themselves. And many of the elderly and the very young are suffering from just the weather conditions out here.
I noticed that you're actually going from person to person and saying that the helicopters are operating.
The helicopters are operating. We've been very effective since this morning in moving large numbers of people to safety. We'll continue working until we've evacuated everybody. We're prioritizing those with medical conditions, certainly those that are critically ill, and we'll continue to focus on those. The general population then will be addressed and is being addressed through mass transit.
I bet you wish you had this kind of airlift Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
We do, but we're so grateful that it's here now.
It's amazing what's happening. Isn't it inspiring?
We actually have been, after getting all 80 of us to safety, we are actually very glad to be out and doing what we can do and what we do best. So we're very happy to be able to be out here and helping move these people to safety.
So in your heart now, when you see it happening, when you see it turning the corner, response?
Well, there's nothing that you can actually explain about it other than it's simply amazing. You know, you want to try to help everybody, but you have to triage them accordingly on who's worse, who's possibly deceased. So you have to work hard and be really aggressive on how you're treating people.
I think any time that you start with this large group of people, when you begin to see progress, it's inspiring, and it allows you to continue on working.
Hey, Clint, turn back here to the line of search. All right. Go see the crowd, Clint, beyond. The crowd beyond waiting. There's two lines operating now, two lines. There's the United States Navy with a giant Chinook coming in. There, I would say at least, Catherine and David, I would say at least 100 every 10 minutes. A lot of babies, a lot of wounded people in this tent. Clint, go to this tent now. That's where they check out I saw them rushing infants in there. They try to administer emergency medical care there. What's the worst you've seen?
Well, the worst we've seen is death. I mean, there are people that have not quite made this storm, and so that would be the worst. But certainly the suffering is difficult to see. We're doing everything we can to alleviate that in a timely fashion. So
Any idea how many have perished here?
I don't have any accurate numbers. I wouldn't want to speculate, but just say thousands.
Thousands. I would say many thousands. This is like hell visited your city, buddy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the sad part about it is probably going to be 8 months or so or better that we're going to actually find people still in their attics. It's just devastating. You cannot even explain.
You're still rescuing people to this day?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we still have to get people out of their attics. People are passing by in boats, and you can hear them beat on the top of from the inside of their attics and their roofs, screaming for help. And it's just you can't. It's so many people. This is simply amazing. It's devastating.
People in those attics, no way out, can't go through the roof. What kind of condition can they be in after all this time?
Initially, what we saw was the water rising and people being trapped in their attics. If the water rose in their attics, they're probably dead. There are people up on their houses. The rescue efforts continue by boat, certainly out, and the rescue efforts will consider.
Hold on. What's up?
Nothing. We're doing good. Everybody's fine.
What do you need?
Tired. That's all. I just wanted to let y'all know we need to get rolling.
Okay.
All right.
All right. You got to break off.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck to you. Doing great work. Watch this step. All right. Good luck, buddy. All right. There's so many hero stories here. It's amazing what we're watching. At the same time, you're horrified, and then on the other hand, you see what America can really do to lend a helping hand and to rescue the most needy. What's happening here, unbelievable. Back to you guys.
All right, people still banging on roofs from attics stuck there, but we are on the scene. We're going to continue with our coverage live from New Orleans, right in front of the Superdome. Back to the bridge in a moment.
Protect your family with life insurance from Prudential.
Hey, Dad, what's life insurance?
Well, life insurance is something parents buy. So in case something happens to them, you kids will be okay.
Oh. Do we have life insurance?
Yeah, we do.
Good.
Yeah, it is good.
Are you tired of wearing food in your lap? Does that old-fashioned TV tray have you painfully hunched over? When you need to get closer, there's TableMate. TableMate makes whatever you're doing more comfortable. Its ingenious design allows you to sit back, relax, and slide the table right up to your body. You'll love getting close to TableMate. Whether it's eating, reading, or writing, TableMate will serve your family well. Ouch, cross-leg trays force you to the edge, but TableMate slides to you for more comfort. It easily adjusts to 6 different heights and 3 comfortable angles. It's like having 18 tables in one. TableMate's extra-large surface transforms from a kid's art easel to a yummy snack server in a snap. Converts from a convenient card table to the most comfortable laptop workstation you'll ever find. And when you're done, it folds flat for storage or stacks for easy access. TableMate is extremely lightweight, yet strong enough to hold up to 50 pounds and still slides with the touch of a finger. Amazing! Use TableMate to tailgate, poolside, on the boat or RV. It's the most portable table you'll ever use. You could spend over $250 on different tables to do what just one TableMate can, but you won't pay that. Call now and get the incredible TableMate for only $29.95. But it gets better. For our special TV customers, we'll also include this remote control organizer, a $20 value free. It's ideal for keeping all your remotes in one safe place. It conveniently fits over any armrest and even stores your TV books and snacks. Yours free. TableMate comes with a lifetime replacement guarantee. If it ever breaks, buckles, or bends, we'll replace it free for life. You get the TableMate remote organizer and the lifetime guarantee, an $80 value, all for just $29.95. And when you call, ask how to get a TableMate free. Call now.
Call 1-800-841-1514 to order your TableMate for $29.95 and find out how you can get another TableMate free. This incredible offer won't last. Call 1-800-841-1514.
Days after Katrina made landfall, thousands of storm survivors are still waiting for help in New Orleans. They're stranded in a city that's slowly regaining control of crime, but still devastation remains. Phil Keating joins us live from New Orleans with the latest. Phil, please.
Hi, this morning we woke up to 3 more arson fires that were smoldering, still burning this morning, and there had also been more violence. Police officers telling me more gunshots again, not as intense as the previous 3 nights of the blackout, but thanks to those National Guard and active duty military presence, troops down there, well, it certainly became a little more safe, but clearly there was still a large way to go to get law and order restored to downtown New Orleans. Take a look at what's going on behind me, this right here. More school buses, more buses coming in here. These would be on the way to the convention center, the scene of so much of that lawlessness and crime over this past week. Every night, the refugees telling me that inside there, it was either no power, no lighting at all whatsoever from many generators, to anybody who had a gun was pretty much doing whatever they wanted, with people dying, people getting raped. But the National Guard, the active duty army, many with Iraq war experience, descending en masse yesterday, and we have seen another massive increase in their numbers here today. We're expecting about 2,000 to 4,000 more troops here on the ground by the end of today. And President Bush this morning from the Rose Garden announcing 7,000 active duty troops have been activated from the Department of Defense. They will be in this region, the 3-state Hurricane Katrina affected region of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Of course, most of those troops will be descending on New Orleans, which has been a city, a natural disaster, and an urban crisis of unprecedented proportions. Now, down the street from where we are, down Business 90, you can see on the road early this morning, despite all of the bus evacuations, still once again overnight, hundreds and hundreds of refugees camping out on the concrete, sleeping, hoping that perhaps anytime now the buses would be coming. And we went down there earlier this morning, little kids, elderly, a lot of families, just telling us that busload after busload convoys going by empty, picking up people from other parts of the town. But obviously, as this FEMA coordinated operation really ramps up again today, perhaps those people will be finally getting their bus ride out. But the frustration after 5 days since the hurricane, 5 days since being stranded from their homes, evacuated for safety, well, here's what woman told us, how she described the absolute frustration.
It's unbelievable. It's like a dream, a bad dream. That's what it feels like.
Do you feel like a refugee in your own?
Yes, this is how I feel, like a refugee. And I know how those people felt. Because this is how we feel. And it's a shame.
And what you're looking at live right now, this is a new fire burning in downtown New Orleans. We presume these are all arson fires. That's the word we get from the New Orleans Police Department. The big oil storage facility fire that erupted yesterday morning and still smoldering over there across the river. You really can't even see the smoke right now. But this brand new fire, so there's 2 fires I can personally see smoke from actively coming this way. Coming down the ramp here below me, we have some more vehicles, some more National Guard deuce and a halves. The massive evacuation operation getting more intense, more ramped up here today. So the help is coming, but the frustration and the patience wearing thin. And you see all those people getting on those buses from our multiple cameras all over New Orleans today. You can see the happiness and the relief that finally their nightmare is about to end. But the fatigue is so evident. Back to you in New York.
Phil, thanks. I want to be clear on a couple of things. Through a lot of Phil's report, you've been seeing some new video we've been getting from the convention center, which is not far from his location. And what we've seen in the last few hours this morning is the airlift of many of the people at the convention center to sites outside of the city. Joining me now on the phone with an update on how law and order is being restored in New Orleans is Sergeant Kathy Flincham of the Louisiana State Police. Kathy, I want to start with the situation first at the Superdome. How many people are left, and how would you describe the condition there?
Well, we're now seeing calm and order return to the city. We have a report, probably around 2,000 folks are still left there. We are still conducting evacuations. We have the buses rolling, especially there, the New Orleans Convention Center. We have a considerable increase in military and police presence in the city. So, and I also want to tell your viewers that there's been an outpouring of support from law enforcement officials all around the country, and just to tell them thank you so much for all the help that they're offering and sending.
I was told yesterday in a conference call with Homeland Security that we would see a big influx, and we have in the last 24 hours, of National Guard and active military into your area. What kind of difference has that made?
Oh, it's made a tremendous difference for us, and also as the water recedes, we're able to access more areas and patrol more areas, and you know, I want to tell you that despite the personal hardships endured by all the first responders, these dedicated men and women continue to save lives and give aid and comfort to the hurricane victims and get them out of harm's way and get them to an area where they're safe and they're secure and they can be taken care of.
I'm curious about a couple of things. Right now, when we talk to you, Kathy, we're seeing some new video that's from the convention center in New Orleans where people are being airlifted out, and where, as you know, we've had a lot of problems with law and order there. When the city was evacuated, I'm assuming you've got a prison population. What happened to them, and do you think they had any role to play in the violence that then erupted?
No. The prison population, they were evacuated also. The Department of Corrections had gotten them out of the area, and no, at the point when the catastrophe that these folks are facing down there, the looters that took advantage of these poor individuals that were going through a traumatic event, and understand there's a difference between looting and going into a business for something that's life-sustaining, food, water. These individuals that took advantage of the people that couldn't get out, you know, that's despicable. Despicable.
I got a quick last question for you. The people who were doing the looting, in your opinion, do you think some of these people stayed behind specifically for that reason?
To give you a definite answer on that would be a speculation. I suppose any time that's a possibility. Unfortunately, in every city throughout the world, you always have your criminal element, and you always have individuals that take the opportunity to prey on people when they know it's going to be a time in their lives when they're at their most vulnerable. So, they absolutely, probably so.
Sergeant Kathy Flincham, Louisiana State Police, thanks a lot. A couple thousand evacuees remain at the Superdome and in areas throughout New Orleans. How long until they're brought to safety?
And for information on how you can help the hurricane victims, you can always contact the Red Cross, 800-HELP-NOW, and, of course, FoxNews.com. Click on Aid for Hurricane Katrina Victims right up at the top. You can read it there, click on, and find out where else to contribute.
Today, you're a super painter with the amazing Wagner Wide Shot Power Painter. Fast and neat. It lets you paint up to 12 inches wide in one pass. The Power Painter. One of the ways Wagner gives you more power, because there's always something that needs painting. Wagner. Paint fast. Paint smart.
Tylenol Rapid Release Gels. Gel caps with specially designed holes to release powerful medicine even faster than before.
You all set? You all buckled in here? Bye-bye, Eddie.
So how was the first day?
You know, I think my dad was wrong. Maybe I do have a future as a ski bum.
Retirement isn't an end. It's the start of what you were meant for all along. So grab your skis and say, hello, future. Call your advisor about the powerful resources of Lincoln Financial Group.
Somewhere between two highways, there was a really good station. Somewhere between breakfast and lunch, there was a roadblock. Somewhere between the kids and the grandkids, there was a second childhood. And somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8. See you along the way. Get more rewards with Trip Rewards at Super 8.
Stay a spell at Super 8 and get $250 in discount coupons every time you stay.
Start a new journey. Chart a new course. Go a new way. Discover the new Infinities at the Infiniti Limited Engagement Summer Event. Like the all-new Infiniti M, winner of Car and Driver's 2005 Sports Sedan Comparison Test. See your Infiniti dealer for attractive lease and finance rates. But don't wait too long. Infiniti's limited engagement ends September 6th.
A Fox News alert, and the troops are coming. You can see the activity on the ground where a lot of civilians are throwing in their helping hand. Well, 10,000 National Guard are going to be added to the mix. This in addition to the 7,000 active duty troops. The total number, by the way, of troops that are employed now in the cleanup for Katrina, 40,000. 40,000, and they are making their way in. The federal government is stepping up to the plate, as is Secretary Department of Labor Elaine Chao, who joins us now by phone to talk a little bit about reconstruction efforts. Secretary Chao, is going to be massive relocation. Even if New Orleans is able to rebuild, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding elsewhere. How can the federal government help?
Well, the president has called a cabinet meeting last week, and we've been very hard at work. The president directed every agency, every department, the federal government to do everything we can to help the victims of this devastation. I just signed off this morning on a $62 million grant to the impacted area in New Orleans, in Louisiana. Basically, these will create this $62 million will create about 10,000 temporary jobs to help in the recovery and cleanup of the devastated areas. You know, what we're having right now is that a lot of people are without a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And so these temporary jobs will get money back into people's pockets.
So let me just specify, if I can, what you're trying to do is get a lot of these evacuees to work so that they can have regular income coming in.
If they want to. We have a number of income assistance programs, and let me tell you about them. First of all, you know, most of these people now don't have any income coming in, so we want to make sure that they've got some money. One is we have unemployment insurance available. So for people who are out of a job because their place of employment is underwater, they can apply for unemployment insurance. Now, for people who are not normally eligible for unemployment insurance, we have set up another new program called the Disaster Unemployment Assistance. This is for people who are self-employed, who are newly employed. For example, if you're a taxi driver and you can't drive your taxi because of the devastation, you can apply for Disaster Unemployment Assistance.
Now we're talking, Secretary Chao, I don't have to tell you about tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who may be displaced because of Katrina. Are you prepared to offer each one of them a new job?
Absolutely, absolutely. And basically, we are aggressively going out and signing people up, because we know that a lot of people may not have radio, they may not have television, they may not have anything but the clothes on their back, and we are aggressively moving out. We are sending workers to canvass declared parishes, hospitals, churches, and other sites, and they've got laptops to take claims where phones are not available. We've set up a 24/7 toll-free numbers because a lot of people have left the area, and I want to make it very clear. They do not have to go back to their home community to sign up for the income assistance program that's available.
Secretary Chao, I got to ask you, do you think New Orleans will come back, or is it going to relocate?
Absolutely. I have full faith in the resiliency of New Orleans. I was just down in New Orleans 3 weeks ago for a Fraternal Order of Police convention. I love the city. I visited with the FOP down there. I have absolute confidence that Louisiana and New Orleans have the spirit and the courage, and with all the outpouring of assistance and prayers and you know, all the help that's being that is forthcoming, I just know that they're going to come up. And New Orleans is going to be better than ever, because after the cleanup and the recovery, there's going to be reconstruction. And we're going to see an economic construction boom like they've not seen in a long, long time.
Secretary of Department of Labor Elaine Chao, we thank you very much for joining us this morning, Secretary Chao. Appreciate it.
Coming up, we're going to have more news. We've had big news this morning. Another 10,000 troops going to the region. Also, we just heard from the Secretary of Labor. There will be jobs for people who want to work. And we'll have more from Geraldo, who's at the Convention Center in New Orleans, where we're seeing a historic airlift. And you're seeing some of that video right now. Come back to Fox.
I want upgrades. More speed, better security, and I want options by Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Ah, Rudy. Why me?
Look, maybe I can get you some more time.
No, Tuesday's fine. I'll call CDW. We'll work out some options. Rudy.
Nobody responds like CDW. With fast answers to your technology questions, you get what you need when you need it. CDW, the right technology right away.
Thanks for caring, man.
More and more people are switching to the trucks and SUVs they really want. GMC.
I looked at Dodge and Ford, but I wanted the best for my family, and GMC was the only one with OnStar.
I shopped for 6 months. The Yukon had everything I wanted.
I'm so glad I moved up from my Ford into this new GMC.
You can still get the employee discount for everyone on remaining 2005 models. Right now, get an 05 Envoy two-wheel drive SLE for just $23,219. See the pros at your local GMC dealers.
Batteries Plus is your one-stop source for anything that needs a battery. Cars and trucks, DVD and MP3 players, cordless phones, children's toys, watches, and every other battery-powered gadget imaginable. And no matter what kind of cell phone you have, we can answer the call. Because if it needs a battery, all you need is Batteries Plus, America's battery experts.
Thousands of batteries. Batteries Plus in Beaverton on Canyon Road next to Tom's Pancake House.
At all TNC dealerships, it's the Labor Day extravaganza. Now there are more ways to save at TNC. There's employee pricing and free lifetime tires. And this weekend only, there's free gas till 2006 on any new or used vehicle. There isn't a better deal around. And $50 of every sale will go to the Red Cross in your name towards the victims of Hurricane Katrina. See us at TNC, Chrysler, Jeep, Mitsubishi, and Chevrolet in Milwaukee, and TNC Dodge in Wilsonville. The sale ends this Monday. It's happening now at all Town and Country dealerships. Drive home happy.
It's a comfortable feeling knowing your annuity from Prudential can bring you a check every month for the life of your retirement. Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth for retirement.
Comcast.
Pay-per-view.
You want game? This fall, ESPN Game Plan has more than 150 extra college football games. Team matchups and rivalries from major conferences. All available when you order your exclusive ESPN Game Plan pay-per-view package.
Don't wait. Bring your team home now and order all the action with ESPN pay-per-view. Call today.
State troopers and local police in Pascagoula, Mississippi, all working together right now to get evacuees the basic necessities that they are so terribly desperate for, and it seems the process is working. Orlando Salinas live at the Relief Center at Pascagoula with details. Orlando.
David, this is an important story that we need to hammer out. Look, there is success taking place. Folks indeed are getting supplies. We are, as you said, inside the National Guard Armory here in Pascagoula, Mississippi. You're looking at a whole bunch of folks from the Army National Guard. You also have the U.S. Navy represented here. A whole lot of folks from a variety of forces are here, and they are dumping all kinds of ice, all kinds of water. They've got the Enfamil, Dusty in the truck. Could you please give us an overview right now? Like I said, this is what's going on inside here. You're getting a nice wide shot right now of what this looks like. They have really thought long and hard about how to make this happen. This is the third day that our servicemen and women are out here busting their humps in this heat to make sure that complete strangers in many cases are getting the food and the water that they need. Over here, come on back this way if you could, Scott, a little bit. Over here, the line stretches all the way to the back end. They have had 18-wheelers coming in all day, and they're still stacked and packed and ready to come in here. And I'm telling you, like I said, it's not just Army National Guard. You got the Navy out here represented. These folks, you would think, would be doing something else. You know what? The important thing they're doing right now is this work. I can tell you this much. There is a curfew that remains in effect. It is from 6 in the evening until 6 in the morning here in this area. And until that time, I believe 5 o'clock is the cutoff time. If you're in this line by 5 o'clock Central Time, you will get your goods if you want them. This is the distribution center for a lot of folks around these parts. It is huge. They got everything packed up here. This really is like a maze of folks who know exactly what they're doing. People say that there is chaos here. Not at all, not in Pascagoula. They are definitely coming over here, and they are making sure that whoever pulls up here gets a big trunk load of whatever they need filled up. David?
All right, and as we are continuing to look at pictures of New Orleans, we don't want to forget the rest of the Gulf Coast. A lot of people in misery in other places, but as you can tell, the focus on New Orleans, really the heart of the storm, or at least the part of the country affected most by it. But we thank Orlando from Pascagoula. Catherine?
And many of those evacuees making their way to Houston and to the Astrodome. Joining me with an update on the relief efforts there is Darren Irby, a spokesman for the American Red Cross. Darren, we just heard from the Labor Secretary Elaine Chao that she signed off on $62 million for temporary work for people who have left their homes. What does that mean for the Red Cross? Because it seems to me we're now talking about long-term housing, or at least medium-term housing for these people.
Well, you know, FEMA is actually ultimately responsible for housing, but we are in the immediate phase of the operation right now. And basically that means that inside the Astrodome and all along the Gulf Coast, we have shelters that are open up, and we're making sure that today everybody has a safe place to go, as comfortable as possible place to go, and that they've got water, food, and the basic necessities. Once we get some sort of transitional period, we can start talking about longer term effects. And obviously as they work through FEMA, the Red Cross and other agencies will kind of supplement all of that work with what we can do. You know, you're hearing about so many people giving to the Red Cross, and first of all, we want to say thanks to everybody who's done that. But all that money will be translated into sort of debit cards, where very soon we will start interviewing these evacuees and folks that are in need, and we will go, and the money that's being donated will replace the things that we need, that they need most. Tools to get back to work, like the Secretary was saying. If you were a carpenter and you just need work tools to get back to work, then the Red Cross can help supply you with that. Bed linens, clothes, food, anything you might need to help get your life back in order once we get this immediate phase sort of transition into the more longer term phase.
Let me make sure that I understand. So you're giving these people like a credit card or a debit card with a certain amount of money on it, and they can use that at facilities to get clothing, to get other goods or services, to get themselves back on their feet?
Not at the moment. I mean, that's what the Red Cross will do in the days to come. Right now, we're still just concentrating on, do you need a safe place to go? And the Astrodome and roughly 95 other shelters around the region are providing that. And we're providing all of those services inside those shelter operations right now. Once people start to go back in, we'll provide that debit card so that they can get the things that they need to get their life back in order.
Darren Irby, spokesman for the Red Cross in Houston, thank you.
All right, we are going to be continuing our live coverage first and foremost in New Orleans, at the bridge, at the Superdome, where help is finally on the way. But what happens afterwards? Temporary help is needed right now. What about long-term help? What about relocation? All of these questions coming to the fore right here as we continue our coverage of America's Great Challenge.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
We use a lot of paper around here.
We print it.
Then copy it.
We file it.
And transfer it. We lose it.
Found it. We process it and turn it into more paper.
And we wonder why our information flow doesn't actually flow.
One company can uncomplicate your paper flow. Lexmark. We've designed smarter ways for the world's biggest businesses to print, move, and manage information. Go to lexmark.com and see how we can help yours uncomplicate.
The next house just came on the market.
Nobody knows this neighborhood better than Wendy Owens. She's a Prudential real estate professional. She's always got the right listings.
And the school is great, too.
She knows the tools of the trade.
I'm emailing a link to the virtual tour.
And there's nobody better at bringing buyers and sellers together.
They've agreed to an early closing.
If you're buying or selling a home, talk to us today. Because we have people like Wendy Owens all across North America. Prudential Real Estate.
Tiffany, he's not worth it.
There are so many other guys out there.
Febreze eliminates odors and leaves pillows fresh.
5,312, 5,313, 5,314.
Do you think you forgot about us?
Febreze eliminates odors and leaves couches fresh.
We lost everything. Everything. It's just sheer misery and hell back there.
The heartbreak, the loss, and the struggle to survive. It's the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Geraldo Rivera is live on location.
Everything you knew, everything you thought was important, it's just gone.
Then rebuilding shattered lives. Sean and Alan on what it will take. And incredible stories of survival. Greta is live in Houston. Watch our Fox News Channel special, America's Challenge, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Asman. As we continue with our coverage of America's Challenge, more relief is coming in today, finally, for thousands of evacuees still trapped in the city of New Orleans. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces, active, inactive, are being called up. There are airlifting storm survivors from the convention center to the New Orleans International Airport for final evacuation, sometimes out of the state. Geraldo Rivera is live from the massive evacuation operation, which is going on right now. You continue to look at live pictures. Geraldo, what's the latest?
It is massive, David. There's no doubt about it. Massive and heartwarming. What a tremendous sigh of relief the entire nation can begin to experience after the horror, the absolute horror of the last several days. This U-Haul is just pulled up here with people who cannot walk. They're being emptied out of the convention center and nearby buildings, those that are not ambulatory. Pan further left, you see the lines still here, still several thousand here, David, but there has been one of the most magnificent Army Chinook taking off with its precious cargo to the right there, Clint. A precious cargo of 40 or so more refugees. The helicopters have been coming in a non-stop air bridge. There's a noticeably less dense crowd as Army, Air Force, Navy, National Guard, Army Reserve, United States Coast Guard, as every uniformed service in the service of the United States has responded. I just want to show you one thing. Pan over to those, Clint, those Vietnamese people there. They're from Mary, Queen of Vietnam Parish. All Vietnamese people, they have been unbelievable. They said that they will wait until everyone else is evacuated and then they will leave in an orderly fashion. When we asked them why they weren't rushing on the line to get out, they said, we don't want to get in the way. We saw them last night in the midst of chaos. They were a sea of tranquility. Amidst the story of chaos and violence and everything else you've been hearing, there are some absolutely inspiring stories as well. Some really amazing, heartfelt stories. Now, as you pan, you'll see that many of the chairs now are empty. I would say from a peak this morning of 10,000, they've been being evacuated at a rate, I would estimate, about, gosh, I would say 100 every 5 or 10 minutes. That 500, 600, 700 maybe every hour. That's just from this massive airlift, David. There's also a line of buses that we've spotted at the far end of the convention center. You can't see it line of sight or I would pan over there, but it has finally happened. Whatever, and I believe it was when the United States military took overall command of this operation, it really started happening, because this was hell on earth. This was Dante's Inferno. Last night it was as horrible as anything I'd ever seen in any third world country. But today, the best of the United States is coming out. The ability, the muscle, the commitment, the organizational skill, the absolute determination to end or alleviate the suffering of this city. These are not people who have any place to go. Their homes underwater, David, but now finally they're getting a lift out of here to safety and some kind of sanctuary. That's it from downtown at the convention center. Back to you, David.
At long last, Geraldo Rivera, thank you so much. And my colleague Catherine Herridge joins us now. Catherine?
Thanks, David. The Houston Astrodome, of course, has become home for many of the displaced, and that doesn't look to change anytime soon. The stadium has cleared its schedule through December for preparing to help those who have nothing to return to. Alicia Cunha is outside the Astrodome in Houston. Alicia, how long do they think they can keep people at that facility? Realistically speaking, is it weeks, or is it months, or is it through January of next year?
Well, Catherine, as you mentioned, they did clear the schedule here at the Reliant Astrodome. But in terms of the psychological effect that takes place once folks have had their meal and had their shower, and they start to deal with the reality that is sinking in, that there really isn't much to go back to yet, and it's still an unknown factor when they will be able to return. The organizers here have talked to us, mostly off camera, but have talked to us about the worsening morale that they're expecting. They're doing everything they can to help these folks. That said, they also say they realize some of these folks are going to start getting edgy. If they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they're going to be seeking employment, but there are tens of thousands of people streaming in here. That's a lot of people looking for jobs. So right now they're preparing for December. They hope it won't be that long, but a lot of the people we've talked to realize that some of these people may now be permanent residents of Texas. Catherine?
Well, we're talking to you now. We're seeing some live pictures out of New Orleans of the evacuation, which is taking place by chopper from the convention center. People making their way to areas outside of New Orleans and even the state as they've come to where you are in Houston. I'm curious. It almost sounds like they're trying to prepare people at the Astrodome for the fact that they've got to sort of grieve the loss of their old life. They're going to have a period of anger before they can kind of make it through to the other side. Are you sort of witnessing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had countless conversations with folks here who arrived here from the Superdome. Right now, they are expressing a combination of gratitude and frustration. They are grieving. They're grateful for what they're getting here, but they're grieving and they're very uncertain about what's going to happen. They're happy to have the meal, but when you really don't know what the next week holds, the next month holds, it becomes very difficult. So they're dealing with that psychological effect as they can, as people continue to stream in here. Catherine?
Thanks, Alicia. Certainly the uncertainty and perhaps even living at that site for another 4 months.
Well, over the past few days, the population of Baton Rouge has nearly doubled, prompting officials to start turning away all arriving buses full of evacuees. Must be a desperate situation to have to turn them away. Fox News correspondent Dan Springer live with the situation in Baton Rouge. Dan, what are you seeing?
Yeah, David, and I apologize for how loud it is right here, but right now we have a train going by, and apparently it's going to be here for some time. But let me give you the situation here. You see a lot of people lined up to get into this shelter. It's a huge shelter in Baton Rouge. We are seeing more reunions today. We're seeing folks go in and look for their loved ones, and they're finally coming out. We have a sign over here that says it's a family pickup area. What you're seeing now are family relatives picking up here. They're finding the people who were taken to these scores of shelters like this one, and they're going, maybe not back to New Orleans, but at least they're going someplace with family members, someplace outside of this. But as soon as someone leaves, there's someone in line to take his place. The need for new shelter space is overwhelming. In Baton Rouge, which is about 80 miles northwest of New Orleans, they are beyond capacity. Police are not letting the buses full of new evacuees stop in Baton Rouge. The buses must continue west to Texas, where the space is becoming available. Meantime, all these people whose lives were turned upside down have to decide their next move, eventually go back to New Orleans or restart someplace else.
All right, Dan, we're going to leave it at that.
Baton Rouge are...
Dan Springer, thanks very much. Catherine?
In addition to Houston, the Texas city of San Antonio is expected to house up to 25,000 hurricane evacuees. A shelter is being created at a site that used to be the Kelly Air Force Base. The evacuees are expected to arrive at the shelter on their own, but some will be bused on from the Astrodome. Phil Harburger is San Antonio's mayor and joins me now. Phil, thank you for being with us. I understand one of the central issues that you're dealing with is you have thousands of young children who you're trying to get into the educational system. How many kids are you dealing with, and what's the age span you're looking at?
Well, they're all age spans because they're the children of the people that are coming here. By the way, it's not going to come. Many of them are already here. We've already received 6,000 people and processed them. Today, there will be 7,000 more people coming. But in our intake system here, one of the things that we are doing is identifying those that have children, how old are they, what grade are they in, and then coordinating with our school systems to get them in school next week.
While we're talking to you, Phil, we're looking at some live pictures of New Orleans, some sky scenes now. We've been watching the evacuation from the Convention Center by chopper earlier today. And I think one of the central questions I have is, these are not kids who've moved according to a timetable with their parents in July and August so that they can start a new school year in September in your town. They're going to obviously have special needs. How are you going to try and help these kids cope with those needs?
Well, of course, it's quite a challenge for the long-term needs for all of these people, ever how many that we're going to have. And we don't have all of the answers. But we have been able, I think, to go through, we have the intake program first takes a lot of information from them. Then we have social services and then medical services. So we're pretty much on top of it. But there are some very clearly long-term implications here, especially for the people that are going to be here for months and maybe some that will stay here. But we feel that it is our job to give these people stability, dignity, and help them with their lives. Statue of Liberty talks of... I was just going to say the Statue of Liberty says something along the lines of give us your huddled masses and your poor. We down here in South Texas say, mi casa es su casa, my house is your house, and it's a privilege to be working with these people, but there certainly are a lot of problems and difficulties along the way.
Is final question, is that one of the untold stories in your town, the way people have opened up their homes to those who have come from Louisiana and in fact maybe even Mississippi?
We haven't requested yet that people open up their homes because we have been able to take care of them in our existing public facilities. I heard you mention earlier there is an air base here that is no longer used, Kelly. And,
just have to excuse me, sir, to interrupt for 1 second. We're getting some new pictures out of New Orleans. Appears to be another fire in that city. I think that picture's... now we're back to the evacuation. We've been watching that this morning at the convention center where they've been lifting hundreds out every hour by a military chopper. We're back to the fire now, Mayor. Excuse me for sort of jumping back and forth between the video as we get it. We've seen a number of fires in New Orleans over the last couple of days. Many are just left to burn out of control because there's either no access route to them, or there are more pressing issues like trying to get the people who are still trapped within their homes. We heard stories this morning of it looked like Coast Guard who were literally passing by homes, hearing people knock on those roofs. Mayor Phil Harberger of San Antonio, thank you very much for being with us today.
And as we look at the military rescue efforts on the right in New Orleans, as Geraldo said, that's what it took. We're going to be talking to the man in charge of coordinating this massive military effort. 40,000 troops all told in the cleanup of Katrina. More to come right here on Fox.
Think the first gated communities were built in the 1980s? Think again. The Romans not only conquered the ancient world, they conquered the future. Rome, engineering an empire, as only the History Channel can bring you. Check your local listings.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-65-DITECH.
If you have indoor or outdoor allergies, ask your doctor about something different. Singulair. While many allergy medicines block histamine, Singulair works differently by blocking leukotrienes, an underlying cause of allergy symptoms. And Singulair is now approved to help relieve both indoor and outdoor allergy symptoms for a full 24 hours. Side effects are generally mild and vary by age and may include headache, ear infection, sore throat, and upper respiratory infection. Singulair, a different way to treat indoor and outdoor allergies.
Justice depends on fair judges who do not prejudge cases. When President Clinton nominated Ruth Bader Ginsburg to the Supreme Court to avoid even the appearance of prejudging cases, Democratic Senator Joe Biden urged her to refuse answering questions that could come before the court.
You not only have a right to choose what you will answer and not answer, but in my view, you should not answer.
Ginsburg followed his advice.
I do not want to give here any hints. I would not like to answer that question. I cannot say anything more than I have already said.
Even so, she was overwhelmingly confirmed in a bipartisan vote, 96-3. Now, Judge John Roberts has been nominated to the Supreme Court. As with Ginsburg, Judge Roberts should not answer questions that force him to prejudge cases. Some senators will object for solely partisan reasons, but a fair judge deserves to be treated fairly. Urge the Senate to give John Roberts a fair up or down vote.
A Fox News alert and live pictures from the air as efforts continue now to get New Orleans out of the mess that Katrina got it into. Now we're seeing areas where there had been fires in the past in New Orleans. We mentioned before there's no water pressure obviously on land there, but you saw some fire boats that have come in. Of course, they generate their own pressure and pump the water right out of the lake into the areas affected. One of the huge fires that took place yesterday, of course, was right on the border with the lake there yesterday, caused by those massive explosions. Still not sure exactly what those explosions were, but the fire raged on for a long time, finally sort of set itself out, and now the fire boats have come in to put the final touches on putting out that fire. Now, as you look at the aerial shots of New Orleans, think of the cost of all this for a moment. The human cost, incalculable. I mean, thousands perhaps dead, thousands of people. We won't have numbers for a long time. But there's also the question of how much all this is going to cost and whether insurance can cover all this and how that affects us all, whether everybody's insurance rates are going to go up. And, of course, exactly how, and I throw this to my colleague Catherine Herridge, as we heard from Elaine Chao, Department of Labor is going to step in. They say they're going to create jobs. Of course, questions of whether government can create a job at all or just set the groundwork for jobs to be created by the private sector.
Secretary of Labor told Fox this morning, Elaine Chao, that they have signed off on $62 million for what you call temporary jobs. These are largely going to be cleanup jobs in the region to give people who have been displaced, who have lost everything, a paycheck, to give them some more stability. But I think this also raises questions as to whether people who have been temporarily relocated, this becomes almost a permanent relocation, because as you know, David, many of the people in Louisiana, New Orleans specifically, were living below the poverty line.
Below the poverty line and below the water level. And the question is whether both of those things might change as a result of this storm, whether or not perhaps now they will have a chance to move out of public housing into housing of their own. But perhaps an opportunity out of this storm.
And what we're looking at right now are more buses coming into New Orleans. What we've been seeing throughout the morning and into the early afternoon are sort of two methods of evacuation. By land, the buses that you're seeing right now in the live pictures, and then also the choppers that Geraldo has been showing us from that convention center, scene of a lot of disorder and violence, but he's been reporting this morning that's been turning the corner. But live pictures, buses coming into New Orleans, two methods to get people out of that city.
We're also seeing, of course, massive relocation taking place right now into Texas. Many of these evacuees are being moved by bus to Texas. Some, however, to the international airport in New Orleans, which is now operating at full speed. A lot of private commercial airliners are chipping in, flying folks to Texas as well. That's where some of these buses are going now.
There's been a lot of emphasis on New Orleans, but other states were affected. The death toll in Mississippi continues to rise. At least 147 have been confirmed dead as crews continue digging through piles of rubble. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seri is live in Jackson, Mississippi, with an up-close look at the devastation there. Jonathan.
Yeah, good afternoon to you. Take a look at these helicopters behind me. These helicopters are being used in rescue operations in flooded areas. In fact, they've already rescued more, close to 2,000 people. These are members of the 920th Rescue Wing, as well as the 347th Rescue Wing, doing absolutely amazing work. In fact, they invited us along for one of their missions. Take a look at this.
Right now, we're taking off from the Air National Guard base in Jackson, Mississippi. We're on our way to New Orleans. Estimated flight time a little longer than an hour. I'm in good company right now. Members of the Air Force and Air Force Reserve. Many of them returning from the war on terror to help with the crisis here in America. Looking down on New Orleans, we're amazed at all the flooding that continues to strand people in upper floors and on rooftops. From one rooftop, the crew rescues an elderly couple. This woman is so nervous, she grabs my hand and doesn't let go until we land. The
helicopters take the evacuees to higher ground underneath this overpass, a staging area where police and paramedics are determining who needs to go to a hospital, who needs to go to a shelter. There are hundreds of people here waiting for a place to go, some of them sleeping on cots. They range in age from newborn infants to the very elderly. The scene is surreal. It looks like a war zone in a third world country.
All I want to do is just get to civilization. I want to get to where I can use a telephone, drink me a cup of coffee, some water, something so I can take a bath.
We rendezvous with the C-130 aircraft and refuel in mid-flight. This allows these helicopters to continue their life-saving mission without having to return to base, wasting precious time.
These things we do that others may live is the motto of the Air Force Combat Search and Rescue, and as you can see, the people involved with these operations certainly live up to that. Back to you.
Jonathan Seri in Jackson, Mississippi, thanks for those terrific pictures.
And this is a Fox News alert. President Bush, of course, surveying the damage yesterday. Apparently, he is going to do it again. President Bush will fly to Mississippi and Louisiana on Monday to again survey the damage and take measure of the recovery efforts. The president stepping up full force to this disaster now. And again, as of now, Monday, he will be going to both Mississippi and Louisiana. Maybe one of the stops he will be making is to Baton Rouge, where rescue efforts seem a bit more coordinated, to say the least, than they did at least at the Superdome in New Orleans. We're continuing to look at live shots as finally the people who've been stuck there for many days without food or water are getting out, being transported to other locations. But Manny Alvarez, Dr. Manny Alvarez, has been with us practically from the beginning of this crisis with the situation in Baton Rouge. At one point, he was the only doctor at the convention center in Baton Rouge, but that's changed, Dr. Alvarez, hasn't it?
Yeah, things are getting a little bit better here at the River Center, but we're still seeing a lot of patients coming into the clinic. As a matter of fact, yesterday we had the opportunity to tour the clinic and look at it from the inside.
And what did you find, doctor? What's the situation there?
Well, there was a lot of need for doctors, and as a matter of fact, there was a group of doctors that just arrived early last night, and they brought in food, and they brought water, and they brought medical supplies, and basically what is happening right now, this clinic is going to become more of a community health center because there's a lot of chronic management of health that needs to take place. So there's going to be a diabetic clinic. They're going to have regular hours so people could almost make appointments, if you will, so that things become, a lot more organized than they were before.
And I believe we have pictures of that tour that you took. We're going to take a look at them right now.
We're inside here at the convention center. This is the triage, or the heart of the triage center for all the people that are out there seeking medical help. And right now, this center basically it's in the front lines because it's assessing all the needs of the patients. Finally, there's two typical kinds of patients that is coming to this center. One that needs medication refill, and the other one, of course, are patients that have acute care needs. Now, the whole function of this clinic is first to assess the vital signs, get a medical history. What has happened in this devastation is that all medical information has been lost. People have no knowledge of what kind of medications they were taking. So this is the first line of information to assess all the medical needs of people out there. The refill of the medication, their allergies, what kind of chronic medical problems they have from diabetes. So the nurses and the doctors triage, including all their medical personnel, they get tested for diabetes, they get checked, their blood pressures get checked out, and after that, an idea of the kind of condition that these people have is done. Now, of course, this is an integrated effort. This is a team effort. This is the best that healthcare has to offer because it basically is a combination of doctors taking physical and history, and of course nurses who are also now doing a lot of the triaging for these patients. We have medical students, nursing students, volunteers that really assess anything. Now, we do have some medications here that patients can have, especially over-the-counter medications that they can dispense. from Advil to anti-inflammatory things. But if not, prescriptions are given after good history and physical is done. And then, of course, the prescriptions are refilled here. They usually get a 30-day refill at best, because hopefully by this time, a lot of these folks are going to go back to their doctor for a more chronic management of care.
All right, incredible to see a hospital set up so quickly. Dr. Alvarez, as we continue to look at scenes from New Orleans, and again, the situation is much better, but there still are isolated scenes of chaos, people's frustration reaching a boiling point. They say that they still, even though they're continuing the evacuation in New Orleans, they need medical help there. Do you know anything about efforts to get doctors into New Orleans, even though they're evacuating people out?
Well, there's a lot of agencies that you can call in to volunteer, but I got to tell you, if you are a medical healthcare professional, if you really want to help, just come on down, because there's a lot of misinformation. As a matter of fact, we just came this morning from Our Lady of the Lake, which is the closest hospital here, is going to become the trauma center of choice. The FBI has identified that center for all the new troops that are going to New Orleans to get all the rescue operations, to be the center of trauma, so where all of these people are going to be going. So there's still a lot of need for medical specialists, nurses, anybody who is involved in mental health. There's a lot of need for mental health specialists to come down and help the folks down here.
All right, Dr. Manny Alvarez in Baton Rouge, as we continue to look at the folks in New Orleans. These, by the way, this new video that we're just getting, and these are the folks that Shepard Smith has spent so much time with. It's a lot of their complaints that Shep has been relaying directly to the public at large, and it appears finally those cries have not fallen on deaf ears. People were listening, and help is on the way from the National Guard. 10,000 new National Guards in addition to 7,000 regular troops, total of 40,000 troops in there trying to get these people out.
This is a Fox News alert. We've just had confirmation from senior administration officials that President Bush will make a second trip to the region on Monday. He will be going to Mississippi and Louisiana. He was just there yesterday. It's significant in his radio address, which was live from the garden outside the White House this morning. He still said, despite our best efforts, that the results there are unacceptable. The administration is determined to get ahead of this now and to turn the situation around. We're joined by Greg Kelly, who's at the White House this afternoon. Greg.
Hi, Catherine. Yes, that is the news this morning from the White House, that the President of the United States, even after his trip just yesterday to Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi, will make yet another trip, this one on Monday. Now, the details, the logistics, where the President will go, his itinerary, all of that is still to be determined, but the President will be making a second trip to the disaster-stricken Southeast. This announcement comes after the President's radio address, in which he announced that 7,000 more active duty troops are on their way to the region within the next 24 to 72 hours. Troops from the 82nd Airborne, from the 1st Cavalry, from the 1st and 2nd Marine Expeditionary Forces will be on their way to the disaster-stricken area. This is in addition to 21,000 National Guard troops that are presently on duty. And the Pentagon announced that they are sending another 10,000 National Guardsmen. The President alluded to more National Guard troops being on the way. 4,000 active duty soldiers, Marines, sailors already working in the recovery effort. Now, the announcement came during the President's radio address, a fairly unusual orchestration of this radio address. It was delivered on live television to a radio and television audience by the President in the Rose Garden. He was flanked by Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff, the Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Richard Myers. Really, the radio address normally is somewhat of a sleepy affair. They generally garner very little attention, even on slow news days. The orchestration, part of an effort by the White House to again demonstrate that the President, that the White House fully grasped the enormity of the situation. They were stung really by accusations that the federal response wasn't quick enough, and this yet another sign that the White House is fully engaged. There's really an all-hands-on-deck feeling here in the White House, in the West Wing. I mentioned those who joined the President during his live address today. Just to the side, who are off camera, the Vice President, Dick Cheney, Cheney, Karl Rove, senior advisor to the president, deputy chief of staff, the chief of staff himself, Andrew Card, really all the players in place today managing or attempting to manage this crisis, do what they can do at the federal level. But once again, two real elements of news today. The president making that announcement of 7,000 active duty troops heading to the zone. The Pentagon mentioning or announcing that 10,000 new National Guardsmen are on their way. Also, the president returning to the region, Louisiana and Mississippi. The president will visit on Monday, this after his visit just yesterday to the disaster-stricken area. Catherine?
Greg, we're going to keep talking, but just so our viewers will not be confused, while you were listening to Greg, who's at the White House in Washington this morning, you've been also watching some live pictures you're seeing now of the buses that are in New Orleans to take people out of the city, and also some pictures of the quite significant military presence and some of the choppers which are ferrying people out of there now. Greg, the president said yesterday that this $10.5 billion is really just the first shot of relief for the hurricane. They expect a second by the 21st of September, which is when the fiscal year ends. Are you getting the sense that in the next few days we will probably see announcements of more money and perhaps more military hardware to the region as the administration attempts to get ahead of this disaster, if you will?
The administration tells me, administration officials, that this is really a very fluid situation. It changes hour by hour. The president himself mentioned regarding that $10.5 billion during his radio address that really is essentially a down payment. All along we have known that another request will be sent to the Congress for more money. This $10.5 billion is basically designed to be spent and spent completely by all of the agencies involved in the recovery effort within the next 20 days. That's $500 million a day for 20 days, and then they'll be asking for more, and there's virtually no indication that the president won't get that authorization for additional funds when he makes the request, or that he won't get the authorization for whatever request he makes.
I know that $10.5 billion sounds like a lot of money, but from a conference call I was on yesterday with Homeland Security, they explained that it's about $500 million a day just to run the FEMA end of this operation. Just last question real quick. This is the second day in a row the president has said that the results on the ground, we're seeing pictures of the president on the left from his tour yesterday, and then pictures from New Orleans on the right, are unacceptable. Do you think that's very significant?
It is significant. It was a significant shift yesterday when the president said that the results so far were unacceptable. Before they were saying that things were going along well. White House realizes that's not totally the case. Back to you.
Greg Kelly reporting at the White House. We'll have more straight ahead on Fox. This is America's Challenge. We'll have more on the president's upcoming trip, which is now scheduled for the Gulf Coast region on Monday. We've learned today he'll be going to Mississippi and also Louisiana. Back in a sec.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Pollen, dust, dander, and now smog and ozone too. Exclusively from Sharper Image, the Ionic Breeze Silent Air Purifier with Ozone Guard that can actually convert smog and ozone into oxygen. Cleaning and circulating your air with no fans, no filters, silently. America's most trusted brand of air purifier introduces revolutionary new technology. Sharper Image, working with the Engelhard Corporation, inventors of the modern catalytic converter, introduces Ozone Guard with Premier Catalyst, recognized by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as a newer way to reduce air pollution. In fact, the more polluted the incoming air, the more oxygen it helps generate. The Ionic Breeze charges incoming air and contaminants attached to the collection grid. Then the air passes through an additional cleaning stage in the new Ozone Guard grill with Premier Catalyst coating that instantly converts a significant portion of smog and ozone into pure oxygen. Then cleaner, fresher air is accelerated back into the room. The Ionic Breeze has earned the seal of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America because it's been proven to reduce airborne allergens. Don't be confused with our noisy competitors. Even if they look the same, they don't have Ozone Guard. Only the Ionic Breeze has Ozone Guard to help instantly convert smog and ozone into oxygen.
I've tried every air purifier on the market today. and there's only one that meets everyone's needs, and that's the Ionic Breeze.
Order today and we'll give you a $69 bathroom Ionic Breeze and a $39 car Ionic Breeze. Try the Ionic Breeze with Ozone Guard for 2 months, and if you don't love it, send it back. But keep the bathroom and the car Ionic Breezes, over a $100 value as a free gift. Call now and get a free 5-year warranty and ask about free shipping.
To order, call 1-800-640-8100. That's 1-800-640-8100. Call now.
A Fox News alert. You're looking at the fire brigade on water. There is no water pressure, of course, in the city of New Orleans except for some isolated pumps, but they are trying to pump it from ships like this into the fire that is raging now on the dock there. You can't see it. If the camera was to pull back, you would be able to see it, but there is what appears to be a warehouse. We believe it's a Saks Fifth Avenue warehouse that is on fire. Hasn't breached the roof as of yet. As you pull back, there's the smoke, and you're about to see, if not the fire itself, at least the source of the smoke. And there you can see it looks like it's just about to breach the flames, that roof. So far, it hasn't. That boat that had been putting some water on it is steaming away. We're not sure why. It appears, again, that fire is just about to breach the roof. We will keep a close eye on this fire on the edge of the city of New Orleans. Catherine?
David, thanks. Joining me on the phone is the three-star general who led the deployment of nearly 1,000 National Guard members into New Orleans yesterday. He's Lieutenant General Russell Honoré, commander of the Joint Task Force coordinating the military efforts there. Thank you very much for being with us, Lieutenant General. I want to start with the news of today. We've had an announcement that there will be an additional 10,000 Guard troops and also 7,000 active duty. The 7,000 active duty, 82nd Airborne, 1st and 2nd Marine Expeditionary Forces. What kind of time frame are you looking at to get them into theater?
Within the next 24 hours. They will commence deployment immediately. Their mission is to search and rescue and conduct humanitarian operations, as collaborated with the TAG Major General Cross of Mississippi and Major General Landrew, the TAG of Louisiana. The 82nd will be focused on Louisiana, and the Marines will focus on Biloxi, Hurricane Point, Haddon County area. Over.
What we're looking at right now live on our screen, right-hand side, is New Orleans, and on the left for our viewers, we're waiting for a news conference at Washington, D.C. at the Homeland Security headquarters with Michael Chertoff. Back to the general while we wait. What specific skill sets are these people going to bring? And I'm quite interested in what the Marines will be doing along the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
As I understand you, what their skills are, these are frontline troops full of capable of full spectrum operation, which means they can do low-end operations and humanitarian work and help fellow citizens to high-end operations. But our focus under this deployment, as described by the President, is to assist in search and rescue and humanitarian operations. Over.
Well, search and rescue and humanitarian, because these people, I'm correct, because of posse comitatus, can't get involved in specific law enforcement functions. Is that correct?
You're very smart.
Well, thank you.
You knew the answer to that one.
I try and do a little research before I come on the air.
I like it when the reporter has the answer already, if it's right.
I got to ask you, sir, today we've seen what appears to be a quite significant sea change in New Orleans. We've seen a heavy military presence, a guard, perhaps even some active duty people there. And I think one of the questions that's come to the fore is that when we've had that presence there, we've seen some really positive change, but it's taken really 6 days for that to happen. Why could it not have happened sooner?
Well, number one, the storm had a boat. And we were into this thing almost 30 hours, and a consequence happened of a levee break, which trapped people into the city. People that had that levee not broken would certainly have had a destruction, but nothing at the level we had, which limited the mobility of the first responders as well as the forces we had in. And conceptually, our national response plan, the first responders National Guard, for which there was about 4,000 of them in the state, responded very well. And when you have the eye of the storm coming, and as you saw this storm, it was at one time covered 3 states where you could not fly aircraft, our type aircraft, which are helicopters, in winds exceeding 40 miles an hour. So do you want to put the troops in the eye of the storm and get them flooded, because the storm, you never know where it's going to go, as well as the FEMA trucks. Some has suggested, why didn't you have the FEMA trucks staged? I've been asked that question in New Orleans. Well, they would have become a casualty. And I'm not trying to deflect you. Something to tell you the other is that the storm made it difficult to get here, and the escalating impact, the flooding on people in New Orleans, and the impact of destruction of the Mississippi coast was beyond belief. And I think most people understand that. And the response time is based in time and space. It takes so long to go someplace. When the National Guard from the other states were notified, many of them were doing their civilian jobs. They're citizen soldiers. Right. So when you look at that and the timeline, we had citizen soldiers from other states coming in to this state. They left their jobs, had to be mobilized. I think it's a magnificent maneuver of a capability that we have in our nation. But crisis this big, this enormity of damage, I don't know that this has happened before, but we are responding. The news on the ground today, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of Monday morning quarterback, as there should be in a great democracy like we have, so we try to do it better the next time. But for us in this nation, this was the first time, and our plan was solid. It was not quick enough, nor did we have total situational awareness of the number of people, because there was an evacuation, and in that process, the first responders themselves could not maneuver around in the city. And when the people started to collect at the designated point, the communication system in the city was down. There was a mass of worry and anxiety of the people, so they went to the nearest place where they could escape the water, and we're still pulling people out of houses as we speak today. So as far as time, this is hard government work to be able to move the forces we've had, and there's no instant solution. And as I've said before, we're not stuck on stupid. We knew what our mission was, to get here, and to get here in a hurry. And we've done the best we could under the circumstances as the situation developed, and we dealt with two significant acts. First, the storm, then the impact of the levee breaking. Over.
Yeah, thanks, Lester. As you're suggesting, it's going to be a real opportunity to do a reassessment of the national response plan, really its first test. Lieutenant General Russell Honore, thank you very much.
All right, as we continue to monitor the situation on the ground in New Orleans and that fire that is burning in the warehouse, if we can get a shot of that fire, which is right on the water, on the coast of the city of New Orleans. Apparently, this is a warehouse. There it is. Perhaps Saks Fifth Avenue is one possible location. You can see the trains leading into that warehouse. We are also expecting Michael Chertoff, the director of the Secretary of Homeland Security, to speak any moment now. He's going to be joined with Patrick Rode from FEMA, which of course is involved in housing these thousands and thousands of refugees as they stream out of the damaged areas caused by Hurricane Katrina. We continue with one of America's greatest challenges here on Fox.
Tonight at Red Roof Inn, Bill stays in a Business King room.
Look at his space.
And feels like a Business King himself.
Multitasking. Chances of me working are remote.
Don't miss the redesigned, rededicated Red Roof Inn and Accor Hotel.
Tylenol Rapid Release Gels. Gel caps with specially designed holes to release powerful medicine even faster than before.
when something really fits. You can feel it, like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive. It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place, gives you all-over coverage, all-over hold. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
The adhesive wafer with the gasket fit. C-Bond. And give toothpaste and tablets the brush off. C-Bond Brightening Gel Cleanser does the job of both.
Call now for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express and start earning double miles at supermarkets, gas stations, and lots of other places. Fly free twice as fast on Delta or 20 other airlines. Apply now and get 10,000 Sky Miles with your first purchase. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES. For the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card. For every eligible dollar you spend, you can earn 2 Sky Miles for even faster travel awards to nearly 500 destinations. Plus, earn 10,000 bonus miles, and the card is fee-free the first year. Try getting all that from another card. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES.
Okay.
This is Fox News Alert. You're looking at live pictures out of New Orleans at this hour. A fire is raging in that city. We believe it's at a warehouse along the Mississippi River, downriver from the French Quarter, and it could involve a warehouse or a facility associated with Saks Fifth Avenue. Unfortunately, this is a scene we've seen repeated over and over in the last few days, and in some circumstances for the firefighters or first responders, they're just having to let these fires burn themselves out because they're having to take their resources and put them towards security or for helping the sick.
We had seen a fireboat trying to attack that fire. Of course, fireboats don't need the kind of pumping facilities that you have on the ground, but that boat has taken off. We don't know whether it was because they were getting the brunt of that smoke. As you can see, if you approach that fire from the water, you're getting a very toxic stream of smoke right into your face. That might have been the reason, but that's just a guess. We don't know if more fireboats will be coming back. Meanwhile, on the east coast of the United States, in Washington, we're expecting a news conference any moment now, which will include Secretary Chertoff, Michael Chertoff. You can see the podium there set up, and the FEMA background. We're going to be hearing from Patrick Rohde from FEMA. By the way, we should tell you he may be speaking with us as well right after the news conference. Coast Guard Rear Admiral Joel Whitehead will also be joined to talk about the rescue efforts, not only short-term, which we've been talking about, but long-term. As we've been mentioning, it's going to be months before the situation in New Orleans, as well as other coastal cities, is cleaned up. And where are you going to house all those thousands of refugees in the meantime? And, of course, there is New Orleans, where the evacuees, we have been using the word evacuee now because, of course, these are not refugees in the strict sense of the word. They are evacuees, where these evacuees are getting on buses at long last. They have been without food, without water, without any kind of civil discipline for a long time now. And now the troops are in, the buses are in, the helicopters are choppering people out of there. Some are going to the international airport where they're being transported to Texas. Others taking a long bus route, the land route over to Texas, about a 300-plus mile journey to Houston as well. So finally, that nightmare is about to be over.
And what's striking about the pictures we've seen this morning and into the afternoon as the story is developed is very significant and heavier military presence. We've seen a lot out of New Orleans, and we had the announcement earlier today that there will be an additional 10,000 Guard troops going down to the Gulf Coast region, and also 7,000 active duty. They'll be from the 82nd Airborne, the 1st Marine Expeditionary, and 2nd Marine Expeditionary. And we'll be bringing in Geraldo Rivera, who's at the Convention Center, who's been giving us a lot of the coverage from there this morning. And really what you've told us, Geraldo, is how things seem to be turning the corner now that you've got the steady airlifting of the evacuees.
And supplementing the airlift is the first bus convoy that we have seen here at the New Orleans Convention Center. As hard as that may be to believe on this Saturday afternoon, these are the first buses, but there is no doubt they are a welcome sight. You know, forget about better late than never. They are here. The buses are here. They can only help speed this very necessary evacuation. They're coming in from Arkansas and from other further states abroad. They are now adding to this magnificent and gigantic airlift that has been going on since 6:30 this morning.
What kind of time frame?
Anytime you're ready, New York, we can put on some pictures that we've shot from ground level. We'll just hot roll it. Just give us the word.
Go ahead, Geraldo.
All right.
We're looking at the pictures now,
All right,
Geraldo. I believe these are the shots that you took earlier of the evacuees. Go ahead.
These are right. These are part of we're standing on top of our satellite vehicle. We're just above. We have an amazing bird's eye view of this grim history, or now this more hopeful history unfolding. But here are some of the shots we've been the most ill, the most infirm, the developmentally disabled. My goodness, the institutions for the mentally retarded and other stricken people. Can you imagine? Tears come to your eyes. Finally, their help has arrived. The miracle is that they have survived this long. It is just amazing what's going on. If you switch back live, you'll see this line that seems never ending, but I can tell you, from my point of view, they have evacuated at least several thousand people already today. Several thousand, if not more. The population of the convention center finally is diminishing down to zero, because that's what it has to be. This building
Geraldo, we're going to jump in right
habitation.
here. Yeah, Geraldo, it's Catherine. We're going to jump in right here because we're seeing some really dramatic pictures of some of these helicopters coming in, and we're seeing also boxes on these choppers. Do you know what's inside the choppers and what they're dropping into the city now? Are they MREs? Is it water? Is it supplies? What are you getting on that?
They are coming in oftentimes with supplies, but the supplies, these choppers seem more on the mission of human evacuation. I see a big Walmart truck. What happened simultaneous to the arrival of the airlift was the arrival of at least a dozen semis, great big trucks bearing much needed supplies.
Geraldo, I got to interrupt you for just a second. Geraldo, what we're looking at, just so that our viewers know, is live shots of another attempt at a kind of rescue where they can't get the chopper down into the place where the people are. We're looking at people who are still living in this can't be called anything other than sewage water right now, but these are choppers that are dropping supplies. Those little white dots in the water are actually bottles of water that have fallen out of the cartons where people are still getting supplies dropped in. Geraldo, these are people who are still living in their houses, and as you interviewed somebody earlier, one of the guardsmen there are people that are still in their attics, knocking on the roofs of their attics. So the actual first stage of this rescue mission has not ended.
It has not. It's so sad. I just interviewed an 82-year-old woman. I asked her why she stayed in her house. You see her? Okay, put the sound on. All right, 82 years old. She stayed in her house because her dogs were afraid of the water. A mobile home, it started to fill. Finally, she had to get out of the house. She's heartbroken. They were her companions. All right, it's so many of these stories. Remember the old Naked City? There are 8 million stories. There are 1,400,000 of these kinds of stories in what used to be the Big Easy. If it can ever recover that nickname, I'd be shocked, because there's nothing easy about New Orleans now. What has happened, Mother Nature has said, we will not allow you to live below sea level, and it's just been the worst. But now we've turned the tide. I do believe it. I do believe it that we're on the comeback trail.
And again, I just want to remind our viewers what we're looking at as we listen to Geraldo, and we're going to be staying with Geraldo here. It's our boats. You saw that LAFD, I believe that was Los Angeles Fire Department.
Or
Louisiana Fire Department being brought in. Excuse me. And the rescue efforts, the people who are staying in those houses, which are partially submerged, continues, despite the fact that the evacuees are getting out of the Superdome, that those evacuations are finally taking place. There are people who haven't even made it as far as the Superdome, and these are the people who, as you can see on the left, are being given supplies. There are supplies being dropped from the choppers into the houses. Now, of course, we don't know whether the people in the houses are the original occupants or not. At this point, it really doesn't matter. They need to survive, and it is survival, which is the name of the game at this point. But they are being dropped supplies from those choppers. And, Geraldo, these people haven't even been able to make it to where, as bad as it is where you are, Geraldo, these people are still stuck in the water.
And you can imagine, David, that they have not had any supplies at all. Nothing. They've had nothing. They've been living. It's not water. I think that, don't think of New Orleans as being flooded. New Orleans isn't flooded. New Orleans has been taken and dipped into a toxic cesspool. Just think of floating around in the backyard cesspool. That's what this is. Throw in the chemicals. You've seen the natural gas fires. That's a wretched mix that they've been living in. How they survived is a testament to the hardiness of the human spirit. They have just been the stories of survival are unbelievable. And a 94-year-old lady that I interviewed with her 68-year-old daughter. I don't know. You know, I heard one congressman estimate, and I don't think that we can long avoid dealing with the amount of casualties. I heard 10,000 dead, 10,000 dead as the starting point. I'm watching that 82-year-old lady now finally getting on the chopper. Her nightmare is about to end. That poor sweetie that had to leave her dogs behind.
Thank
but
God.
It's God, David, it's finally happening.
Well, it is finally happening, and we are very thankful for that. But as we continue to watch scenes, we just want to alert the viewers as we continue talking to Geraldo that what you're looking at on the left, by the way, is video. That is live, and as you can see, that cesspool-like water that Geraldo's been talking about, which is really a toxic cesspool now, which is the place that most of these people are stuck within. They have this as a kind of a moat around the houses that they have taken over. Now, these are either the original occupants or people who are using these houses as really lifeboats. I mean, the houses that have been almost submerged in water are now their lifelines, and finally they are getting clean water, and we don't know how long they have been in those houses. Clearly, they haven't even been able to make it, as bad as things are at the Superdome, to the Superdome to be evacuated, but they are getting necessary water, potable water, which is being dropped from helicopters. And there you see the jet skis, some rescue men on jet skis bringing in those vital supplies to people that are camped out in these house lifeboats, which is what they have essentially become now. Geraldo, I'm just wondering how many hundreds, if not thousands of people there are still remaining in these houses. All right, well, as Geraldo continues to collect stories, and there are thousands and tens of thousands of those stories from all of those people who've been stuck for these past 5 days in the Superdome, you imagine how many more stories there are hidden in these houses throughout the New Orleans area. Of course, the city is still flooded. God knows how long it's going to take to pump the water out of the city back into the lake. Of course, most of those pumping stations are submerged, are of no use. It's going to take a long time before they're able to pump the water out. In the meantime, Geraldo, you have to wonder how these people survive in that cesspool, but they're doing it somehow, and right now, at the very least, they are receiving some clean water to drink.
You know, you hear these stories of people who've been cast adrift on the high seas, and they survive for 3 weeks on whatever, and not very much at all, and you marvel at their resilience. The thing about most of those high seas survival stories is that they are hardy, seafaring young people who manage to survive by and large. What you have here is a stricken population, a population that was vulnerable, as you know, David, prior to this natural calamity, this catastrophe. One of the most aged populations, one of the poorest populations, a population that at least 1/3 of whom were living not only below the poverty line, but were among the most indigent in our nation. Basically, these poor people living hand to mouth in the best of times have had their entire worlds turned upside down. The fact that they have managed to survive and are now being extricated from this is something that must be a tremendous relief to everyone watching.
Our own Geraldo Rivera has been covering this story live for us from New Orleans as we continue with America's Challenge. Our continuing coverage of America's Challenge now goes on with our own Bill Hemmer. My colleague Bill Hemmer joins us from Baton Rouge. Bill?
Hey, David, thanks, and good to hear your voice today. We have just arrived literally minutes ago, traveling earlier this morning from New York City with the State Emergency Center. This is the headquarters for the Disaster and Recovery Operation, David. This is the place where when the FEMA director comes out, when the governor in Louisiana comes out, they come out to this location here in Baton Rouge. We are 3 hours away from another briefing from FEMA, but we have really have some extraordinary stories that we picked up along with the people who flew into Baton Rouge. We came by way of Dallas on an early morning flight, and every flight into the city of Baton Rouge is packed. Absolutely sold out. Many people from the media, but still many more others who are coming in here to help out. Met a woman by the name of Dina Kivet on the board, a flight. She came in from Boston. She's an RN, and she came and paid her own way to get here, and so many of those stories, too. I'll tell you about it in a moment. Here's Michael Chertoff, though, first in Washington, the Homeland Security Secretary.
Read about and spoken to people about in terms of the aftermath of the tragic, catastrophic events that have occurred in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. I'm going to give a little bit of an operational update, but before I do, I want to just say that words cannot describe what one witnesses with one's own eyes when you actually see the devastation caused by Mother Nature, a Mother Nature that has been anything but maternal. We went around and saw houses that were crushed like matchsticks and watched people sitting on porch talk to the people who had seen their entire lives just evaporate before their eyes as the storm surge and the wind destroyed their dwellings, destroyed their livelihoods. Many of them were lucky to be alive. Louisiana is a city that is largely underwater. Tossed about as if it's merely a set of child's toys. The devastation, the damage to life, the damage to the entire infrastructure of the city is breathtaking and horrifying. I can tell you that not an hour goes by that we don't spend a lot of time thinking about the people who are actively suffering in all of these parts of the Gulf. There are people on rooftops. There are still people emerging as the water begins to recede, looking for help, looking for rescue. There are people who've been sweltering in shelters, waiting for food and water. We've gotten them food and water, but they're uncomfortable, they're scared, they're frightened. They don't know what the future holds. The United States, as the President has said, is going to move heaven and earth to rescue, feed, shelter, and restore the life and health of the people who are currently suffering. We are flowing all of the capabilities and assets of the United States into this effort. This is a daunting challenge. I guess I would say this is probably the worst catastrophe or set of catastrophes, certainly that I'm aware of in the history of the country. Devastating hurricane followed by a second devastating flood. I guess I would compare what I witnessed to an effort to rescue victims of a tsunami while the tsunami is still there, before it's receded. I will say one bright spot was the tremendous courage and spirit of the victims and the tremendous courage and spirit of those who are working very hard to rescue them, to give them aid and comfort. You know, we talked to people on the ground who were still shell-shocked, and yet they held American flags. They came up and hugged the president. They talked about how eager they are to rebuild, and many of them talked about how they want to help others that, if you can believe it, feel that they feel even less fortunate than they are. We got to meet and talk to some of the Coast Guard and other enforcement officials and other rescue officials who've been working literally around the clock since Tuesday, trying to pull people off of buildings, trying to get them to safety, get them food, get them water, all in an environment in which the water is well over their heads. This is really a tribute to the spirit of the people that we bring to devastating catastrophes like this. With me here is the United States Surgeon General, Richard Carmona, Admiral Whitehead of the Coast Guard, and FEMA Deputy Director Patrick Rohde. I'm going to give a brief operational update, then I'm going to ask the Surgeon General to do that and Admiral Whitehead to do it, and then I will take some questions. And I know some of you were put off a couple of days ago because you felt you got a little sandwiched between a White House briefing and my briefing, so I'll give you a little bit of extra time, but a little bit is the operative word. Yesterday, the President signed a $10.5 billion package for emergency aid, which is a down payment, as he said, on what is going to be a very, very substantial investment in response and recovery. I met with the President today, and he's been spending a good deal of time every day focused very intently on what we need to do, not only to deal with the immediate urgent need to continue to rescue, evacuate, and shelter people, but the need to make sure that in the weeks and months to come they are adequately provided for, they are housed, they are educated, they get whatever health assistance that they need, and also that we give them the hope and the promise that there will be a rebuilding and there will be a future, an economic future, a future for their lives. And so he's been spending a lot of time on that. I'm pleased to say that 21,000 Guard troops are now operating in Louisiana and Mississippi, of which approximately 13,000 are now in New Orleans, and I think another 1,400 are coming today or tomorrow. In addition to that, the Department of Defense has deployed more than 4,000 active duty forces, including logistics and medical support. The situation is improving hour by hour. Nevertheless, we're not satisfied. The fact of the matter is this set of catastrophes has broken any mold for how you deal with this kind of weather devastation. And so we're going to break the mold in terms of how we respond. The federal government is not going to play merely its customary role in giving all necessary support to first responders. The federal government is going to step up and take a primary role working with state and locals to deal with the outcome of this tragedy. As a consequence, as you know, the President announced this morning that we are bringing military forces, active military forces, to assist in the process of completing this evacuation and doing whatever it is to get people to health and safety. We anticipate that today we'll have elements coming from the 82nd Airborne Division, the 1st Cavalry, and the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, approximately 7,000. We will continue to bring forces into the city and into other areas to the extent necessary in order to make sure the mission is completely taken care of. Let me finally emphasize, before I come to some statistical updates, this is not merely a tragedy in New Orleans. The surrounding parishes are inundated and there are people who need help there. We are going to be looking to help them, and we are looking to help them. We are actively focused on the needs of the people in Mississippi who are currently suffering. And people all over the Gulf area are in dire straits, and therefore we are going to be looking comprehensively in terms of our response with these new military assets at everything we need to do in order to make sure we are conducting evacuations and giving people the assistance that they need. There are some remarkable statistics. The Coast Guard has now saved more than 9,500, rescued more than 9,500 lives, which is double the entire number of people that were rescued in the year 2003. And on top of that are hundreds and thousands rescued by local authorities. Humanitarian aid has gone to well over 100,000 people. Emergency personnel continue to work around the clock. Operation Air Care has airlifted more than 4,000 people out of New Orleans. This is an effort to get people airlifted out using not only military aircraft, but aircraft that have been given to us or lent to us by commercial airliners. Amtrak made its first run out of New Orleans today and evacuated people to Dallas. That's 650 people, and we expect to be running a couple of trains a day. We are very aware of the fact that there are still patients in hospitals that need to be medevaced. We're working systematically. We've removed a lot of patients. There are some that still need to be removed. And of course, as well as the patients, there are staff and other people who are present in the hospital. This is a picture which is improving, but we have a lot more work to do. And I will be going down to the New Orleans area tonight. I expect to be there for several days, working with the new military elements that come in to make sure that we are now able to integrate and deploy this much larger footprint of federal assistance that's coming down under the Stafford Act. Now I ask the Surgeon General to
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today on behalf of Secretary Leavitt and the Department of Health and Human Services. I would like to give you an update on our activities in providing assistance to those affected by this disaster. New Orleans hospital situation first. 3 hospitals in New Orleans are still up and running with no evacuation required. Health and Human Services is supplying, with the help of its FEMA partners, needed medical supplies to these 3 hospitals. These hospitals are East Jefferson, West Jefferson, and the Oxnard Hospital. Federal medical shelters. HHS is setting up the first 10 federal medical shelters. Each will have 250-bed capacity. They will be at Fort Polk, Louisiana, Eglin Air Force Base, Meridian Naval Air Station, and the Meridian Air National Guard facility. We will have a total of 2,500 beds available once the deployment is complete. Over 300 United States Public Health Service Commission Corps officers have arrived to staff the medical shelters. Several hundred more are in the process of deployment. Each shelter will require 3 large semi-trucks of equipment, supplies, and it's going to take a great partnership to get this done under the leadership of FEMA and Secretary Chertoff, our partners within the NDMS, the National Disaster Medical System, the VA, DOD, and the Public Health Service. Each shelter will require a staff of 150 persons. The National Institutes of Health, part of the Health and Human Services Department, is setting up a telemedicine consultation and triage facility on the NIH campus that will serve as a medical specialty service to all of the 40 federal medical shelters we are setting up on the ground. This consultation will focus on the sickest of the sick and link expertise at NIH and 125 medical centers across the country. Medical schools across the United States have been linked in this endeavor under the guidance of the director of NIH, Dr. Zerhouni. NIH is also providing 100 critical care beds for those who are severely ill and in need of critical care. They've cleared out many of the beds at the National Institutes of Health, and they'll have the best care there. The Federal Medical Shelter on the Louisiana State University campus in Baton Rouge is filling more than 1,000 prescriptions a day with medicines from our strategic national stockpile, and it should be noted that this is only the 2nd time in history that the strategic national stockpile has been used. Since last weekend, HHS has shipped and is distributing nearly 100 tons of vital medications and supplies, including antibiotics, including tetanus, maintenance medications for chronic diseases like diabetes, like asthma, and other chronic conditions. Today, the Health and Human Services Department released $27.25 million in emergency energy assistance to states hit hardest by the hurricane. This includes Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama. The funding comes from Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which can be used for a wide range of purposes, including transportation to shelters for individuals whose health is endangered by loss of access to cooling, utility reconnection costs, and the like. Louisiana will receive $12 million, Mississippi $11.75 million, Alabama $2 million, and Florida $1.5 million. And last but not least, I want to say a special thanks to the Americans who have reached out. Under the leadership of Secretary Chertoff and Secretary Leavitt and our other federal partners, we recognize that this is truly a national effort. The United States usually responds to the rest of the world when in need, and today the rest of the world has responded to us. We have had input from many countries who barely can get by with their own resources that have asked to come and help America. Our own folks have done an extraordinary job of pulling this together, and volunteerism, which, as you know, is one of the pet issues of our president, to let the American public have an outlet to volunteer, is at unprecedented levels. And because of that, we have put together a program which will allow all Americans that would like to volunteer to call in to the Department of Health and Human Services, and we will have people standing by to prompt them through a series of informational questions that would allow us to best categorize them, and if needed, use those volunteers in a productive and constructive way, supporting all of the activities that you've heard about. HHS has set up a toll-free number, 1-866-KATMEDI, 1-866-528-6334, and a website, http:// volunteer.hhs.gov for healthcare professionals and relief personnel who want to assist in Hurricane Katrina relief efforts. There will be links from our HHS website as well as from the Surgeon General's website should anybody get lost in the web trying to find it. But the key here is we want to harness all the energy of the good American public who has come forth in unprecedented manner to try and serve their country and help to mitigate, relieve some of the suffering that is driving what we're doing. As the Secretary said, in our shop, I don't think there was a dry eye in that emergency operations center. People haven't gone home. People have canceled vacations. People have gone to extraordinary lengths that we've had to send our staff home because they couldn't stand up anymore. That's how committed we are in this administration. And as the Secretary said, we won't stop until everybody's safe and we provide the appropriate shelter for them to get them back on their feet. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Good afternoon. Coast Guard personnel and assets continue to flow into the Gulf area. We now have 29 Coast Guard cutters in the area, 52 aircraft, and many response and incident teams that are also deployed. We have recalled now 550 Coast Guard reservists, and we have the authority from the Secretary to bring in as many as 800. Coast Guard air operations yesterday rescued 1,245 people and conducted 385 sorties. And that, as the Secretary mentioned, brings the total now to about 9,500 people. And right now, our focus is going to be on the evacuation of people from the New Orleans convention area. Ports and waterways are very important to us, very important to the economy as well. And they're beginning to open, although we have placed restrictions on many of those waterways. We have found, and this is a little bit of a guesstimate, that about 70% of all the aids to navigation, that's the buoys and the markers along the waterways, are either missing or are sunk or off station. So this is an area that we're continually focusing on. Only the port of Gulfport, Mississippi remains closed to all traffic. Pascagoula, Mississippi is open to vessels of less than 12-foot draft. Mobile is open to barge traffic. And Pensacola, Florida, and Destin, Panama City, Florida, are open to vessels, larger vessels with up to 31 feet draft. The lower Mississippi River has been open to deep draft vessels with up to 35 feet draft. We continue to work in the area. Our people are just really doing tremendous work. We're very proud of them. And we continue to work with our partners in DHS, the military services, every day.
Questions? Yes, Bobby. Hey, Eric, if I call on one, you learned in school, wait your turn. Bobby, go ahead.
Two quick ones. One is, why were military assets not brought in earlier? Second question to follow on is, given that catastrophic event planning has been the central plank of the federal government since 9/11, why is something as basic as evacuation plans seem so chaotic?
Let me answer both those questions. The traditional model for recovery and response and recovery involves having the federal government come in to support the first responders who are the first on the ground. That happens in all kinds of scenarios. It happens in hurricanes as a routine matter. And one of the reasons for that is because part of the legal framework which governs the activities of the federal government, particularly the military, places certain restrictions on the way they can be used in the United States. Partly it's because our constitutional system really places the primary authority in each state with the governor. In this case, I will tell you that the way these catastrophes unfolded is unprecedented in anybody's experience. We had two catastrophes. We had a Category 4 hurricane that was followed the next day by really the collapse of a levee. Not merely a breach, although we had a number of breaches, but really the demolition of 300 feet of the levee, which essentially turned New Orleans into a lake the day after the hurricane. I can't think of another incident, even the tsunami, which presented this combination of events. It's as if the tsunami we'd had to do the rescue while the water was still there in the tsunami. So under those circumstances, I think we have discovered over the last few days that with all the tremendous effort using the existing resources and the traditional frameworks of the National Guard, the unusual set of challenges of conducting a massive evacuation in the context of a still dangerous flood requires us to basically break the traditional model and create a new model, one for what you might call a kind of an ultra catastrophe. And that's one in which we are using the military, still within the framework of the law, to come in and really handle the evacuation, handle all of the associated elements, and that, of course, frees the National Guard up to do a security mission. So this is really one which I think was breathtaking in its surprise. That comes to your second question. There has been a lot of planning for catastrophes. I will tell you that there has been, over the last few years, some specific planning for the possibility of a significant hurricane in New Orleans with a lot of rainfall, with water rising in the levees and water overflowing the levees. And that is a very catastrophic scenario. It's probably, in itself, it's considered one of the 15 kind of great template catastrophes that you plan for. And although the planning was not complete, a lot of work had been done. But there were two problems here. First of all, it's as if someone took that plan and dropped an atomic bomb simply to make it more difficult. We didn't merely have the overflow. We actually had the break in the wall. And I will tell you, that really, that perfect storm of combination of catastrophes exceeded the foresight of the planners and maybe anybody's foresight. To make matters worse, the storm itself was unusual in its course. It began as a comparatively low-power storm. It crossed Florida. It wasn't until comparatively late, shortly before, a day, maybe a day and a half before landfall, that it became clear that this was going to be a Category 4 or 5 hurricane headed for the New Orleans area. In advance of that, recognizing the danger, the president leaned forward and declared states of emergency, which is a very unusual thing, in those states in the Gulf. We began to pre-position and move assets as early as possible when we realized that that hurricane was coming in. But with all that, the kind of the knockout punch that Mother Nature gave us was that breakdown of the levee and the swamping of New Orleans. And I have to tell you, I've now spent a fair amount of time talking to people who do this, and nobody can come up in living memory with a pair of disasters like this. By the way, on top of which, we have the obliteration of significant parts of the Mississippi Gulf Coast and a whole lot of associated problems with respect to infrastructure. Of course, the surrounding parishes of New Orleans are also underwater. This perhaps reminds us that with all of our planning and our modern technology and our confidence in our ability to master nature, when Mother Nature really wants to strike at us, she is a very, very tough opponent. So a little long-winded, but I think that answers your questions. Yes.
What about, who's in charge now of restoring law and order, and is there a central body who's dealing with a plan to evacuate people and get order restored?
The National Guard under the law has the responsibility for maintaining order, and that's why we're bringing more National Guard in. Of course, the National Guard reports to the governor, but at this point, the National Guard is working very closely with General Honore, who is the Defense Department Joint Task Force commander on the ground. He's commanding those elements of logistical support and other DoD activities, and he's really working very closely in partnership with the Louisiana Guard authorities to make sure security is being covered. To free them to do that and to make sure that we have exhausted every avenue to make sure we are moving forward with the evacuation, these additional regular Army assets and Marine assets are coming into place on the ground. NORTHCOM, which is the military command which has responsibility for events here in the United States, for the last couple of days has been working on a set of plans to continue to move forward with the evacuation. Obviously, we're not going to stop what we're doing, but we recognize that even after we recover people from the Superdome and when we finish that process, which is almost done, and from the convention center and the hospitals. We still have to address the issue of people who are coming out of their houses now who have to be evacuated. We're really using some of our, our aerial assets, going to have to essentially do reconnaissance over the whole city, continue to identify pockets of people, continue to drop food and water until help arrives, get them to the buses, get them to the airplanes, get them to the trains. But as quickly as possible. We have the plans, we have the capabilities, and they're getting there. Yes.
A lot of our National Guard are like overseas now, over in Iraq. I was wondering if that was a major factor here. I mean, are we at this point a bit too, at this point spread out in the world?
No, the issue here actually has not been the number of National Guard. It has been the ability to get them. These are citizen soldiers. We have to get them mobilized and deployed. When we send the National Guard overseas, we don't tell them to pack up and leave in 24 hours unless it's some huge emergency. So as we have staged the process of the National Guard, it does take a little bit of time to have them called and get them prepared. One of the challenges, is we need certain specialties. There are a lot of people who do different things in the National Guard. What the Department of Defense has done is identified those with military policing, for example, as a specialty, because those are people who are trained in law enforcement, as opposed to, for example, people who are involved in driving tanks. So that process of identifying and mobilizing has taken time, but it's not a problem of not enough guard. It's just the inherent time it takes to mobilize.
A follow-up on that too, as well. There are law enforcement officials around the country who actually want to go down there and help. I've heard that they aren't getting a lot of FEMA clearance in order to come down. Is that also a bottleneck problem going on?
Well, I know the governor, and this I think a few days ago, had brought in state police, not only from Louisiana, but I think from other parts of the country as well. Again, one of the challenges is, as important as it is to have a lot of people to do security, it's important to have them organized in a way so that they can communicate with one another, they have a common operating plan. Bringing in people from 25 or 30 different forces who have different ways of operating actually does not necessarily enhance security. It may actually add chaos. So we're not turning down offers, but what we're doing is trying to make sure that what we do is the most efficient and works with the greatest degree of safety and security. Yeah.
Sir, you said that the U.S. government will serve a primary role in the mission from this point on. Is that shorthand for saying that you've federalized the rescue and relief effort? And if so, how will that improve things?
No, we have not federalized the effort. And when I say primary, that doesn't mean that the state and locals don't have a primary role as well. What I mean is we typically, as a matter of the general principles of how we work in this country, act merely in a support role. We have now stepped up to stand shoulder to shoulder with state and local in a primary role. It doesn't legally federalize state assets. What it does is it brings what are purely federal assets directly into the evacuation process. What that does is it frees the National Guard to do other things because we can now use our capabilities to do evacuation and associated things.
If I could ask a follow-up. The federal government has 9 stockpiles of fire and rescue gear strategically located across the country for use in catastrophes of this nature. As of last night, none of those stockpiles have been moved an inch closer to New Orleans because, we're told, the governors haven't requested them. Is this the type of thing that this change might you're entering the thicket of various legal rules that tend to govern these matters. What this change is going to do is it means we bring into play the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, which have inherent capabilities that they carry with them to address any situation, so that we essentially can step around the normal legal issues that require someone to request something and a lot of legal standards to be met, and bring capabilities to bear that carry with them what they need to execute the mission. I think that is going to clear the way through a lot of some of these issues we've dealt with. As important, it's going to give the National Guard, which, by the way, has been working very hard. I mean, everybody needs a rest. People are getting worn out. It's going to give them an opportunity to focus on the security issue. Yeah.
Secretary, stepping back,
Given that the system doesn't seem to have been able to respond adequately to an event that has been hypothesized and planned for, what confidence can the administration give the public that DHS or the government is ready for a terrorist strike or a WMD strike that it cannot predict?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I agree that we haven't responded to something that was hypothesized and planned for. I think the problem is we had two events that have been hypothesized that occurred simultaneously. And I guess that does, indicate that at some level, with all the planning and all the resources, if a truly catastrophic event, if an ultimate catastrophe occurs, there's going to be some harmful fallout. What we want to do is do the best we can to respond, to mitigate, and to recover. We'd ideally like to do it perfectly. We'd ideally like to be able to do it instantly. But what we need to do is get closer and closer to that ideal. In this case, I think we were well prepared for one catastrophe. I think the second catastrophe, frankly, it added a level of challenge that no one had seen before. But I have to say, I think that with that, everybody has performed magnificently in stepping up to this increased challenge, reaching out for more assets, improvising additional measures that allows us to deal with what nature has dealt to us.
One follow-up. Does the statement about the federal taking a primary role suggest that the National Incident Management System, the ICS, have been set aside or not worked? And also, does it mean that the locals and the states have adequately executed the evacuation order, knew about the situation in time of what was going on in New Orleans?
On the contrary, this use of federal resources is exactly what was contemplated by the National Response Plan. One of the things that this experience has demonstrated that actually the National Response Plan is the best way to not only deal with something that we've planned for, but something that is unexpected that comes on top of what we've planned for. This is all done within the existing framework of the roles and assignments. It is, in fact, the case the National Response Plan envisions the Department of Defense playing a role with respect to one of the emergency support functions. And so the plan, which is still quite new, has actually proved to be a critical tool in enabling us to mobilize as quickly as we have. I can tell you, I'm told anecdotally, that in past times, when we didn't have this kind of capability, it would have been much harder and much slower than it is now. So I think this is actually a validation of the plan. Yeah.
Why should you not have anticipated both events coming? And
that's the kind of question which in court the judge usually sustains the objection to. It's called argumentative. But nevertheless, if we had an atomic bomb on top of this, and, we could pile on catastrophes. Whenever you do a planning process, you have to deal with what is reasonably foreseeable. It is true that you can sometimes have the combination of things that are reasonably foreseeable, but that combination is unreasonably foreseeable. That's why someone wrote a book called The Perfect Storm. The answer is that the planning that was done, I think, was although not completed, was a very good plan for what was reasonably foreseeable. I think that this major breach, not merely an overflow, but this major breach of the levee, while something itself that might have been anticipated, coming together, I think, was outside of the scope of what people, I think, reasonably foresaw. But again, the strength of the system is that it enables us to adapt and move as quickly as we possibly can to make up the difference.
Some Congress have suggested that perhaps FEMA director should resign or be removed from his position. What do you think of that session?
I think, again, first of all, I'm quite sure there'll be plenty of time to go back and talk about, who did what to whom. I must tell you right now, this is not merely response and recovery. We are in the middle of something that is dynamic. We have a choice to make. We can spend a lot of time in the rearview mirror, or we can spend a lot of time looking out the windshield, seeing the way we're going. I will tell you the challenges we have ahead of us are, we are going to have a lot of evacuees. Once we get them into temporary shelter, we have to deal with the issue of more long-term shelter, jobs, education, health care. What do we do to bring up the infrastructure again? How do we drain the city? How do we clean up any environmental hazards? There are huge tasks ahead of us. The president has set a very, very ambitious agenda. He has said, we are going to attack all of these things. We are going to bring people hope back. We are going to give people the promise that they will get back their lives and their lives will be better. That's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to take a lot of energy. So I have to tell you that everybody working on this is working their heart out. They're also looking into the mirror ahead. We'll learn whatever lessons we have to learn as we go along, but I think our focus, and certainly my focus, is making sure that we are moving as quickly as possible to do everything to make lives for the victims easier.
But do you still have confidence in the FEMA director?
I do have confidence in the FEMA director, and I have confidence in the people who are working tirelessly for him, and I have confidence in the Coast Guard crews who are dangling young men to scoop up people on roofs. And I have confidence in the people who are the Army Corps of Engineers, which is dropping 7,000-pound bags of sand to try to finally block that gap in the 17th Street Canal. I have confidence in the military, National Guard folks who are out there trying to deal with desperate, scared people. I have confidence in everybody involved in this process.
Sir, I know that a lot of this planning predates your stewardship of DHS, but your earlier answer seemed to suggest that it was unforeseeable that a Category 4 hurricane would knock down a levee designed to withstand Category 3 winds. Is that what you're saying was unforeseeable?
What I'm saying is that in the plan that we talked about, which was a plan that the state and local officials developed in conjunction with FEMA. I think they started a couple of years ago, and it's not completely finished, but they spent a lot of time on it. That was one of the kind of ultimate catastrophes that was planned for. And even within that, while it was assumed in the catastrophe there'd be overflow from the levee, maybe a small break in the levee, the collapse of a significant portion of the levee, leading to the very fast flooding of the city, was not envisioned. Now, maybe some will criticize that. And if someone said, well, at the same time a bomb could have gone off, I guess, one could factor that into it too. And there'll be plenty of time to go back and say that we should hypothesize, ever more apocalyptic combinations of catastrophes. Be that as it may, I'm telling you, this is what the planners had in front of them. They were confronted with a second wave that they did not have built into the plan, but using the tools that they had, they've now moved forward to adapt.
Stepping back, though, the evacuation, is it not the case that the mandatory evacuation was ordered before the levee broke and was not executed either because the city did not have the means or had not planned it or that they had not informed the public about it? And on top of that, isn't it also true that in that basic time between Monday and Tuesday afternoon when officials grasped what was going on, that there was a delay between the time before the city officials and the state grasped the significance of what was going on and put out these calls for additional assistance, but now the federal government has acknowledged that we're too small a pipeline to respond to the problem?
I think that the mandatory evacuation was ordered on Sunday morning. Again, I want to take you back to the course of the hurricane because I think that on Saturday, it started to pick up speed, and the focus of the hurricane began to narrow. And at that point, I think the likelihood of an impact in the New Orleans area became much more significant. So, often you get a sense from the track of the storm 2 or 3 days out.